Yo, what's going on, Fables? It's your boy Mike from the Nothing But Niners crew. We are live, guys. We are here to talk about the final battle of the Bay. Now, before we get down to the nitty gritty, I'll let you guys know where to find us. I know a lot of you guys hate that because you already know. But, guys, thank you for checking us out here on YouTube. If this is your first time watching us, hit that subscribe button, put the little bell notification on so you know exactly when we're going live. Also, check out the website, www.nothingbutniners.com. Us writers have been working hard to bring you guys some quality content. Make sure you guys check that out. Give us a shout. Spread the word. Share some of the articles, things like that. Website is going to lead you to our social media pages, our Twitter and Snapchat handles. Those are Nothing But Nine ERS. You guys are also going to find our Facebook and our Facebook and our Instagram. Those are Nothing But Niners. You guys check us out over there. Today is going to get myself. You guys, we got Nick in here. We got Eric in here. We're going to talk about this final battle of the Bay and what it means to the people over there. I'm a guy from New Jersey. I'm living in Pennsylvania. Nick is a guy from New Jersey who lived in Florida, who's back in Jersey. But we got somebody who's out there in the midst of it with Eric. We got to talk about what's really going on and what this game means. So before we break all of that down, my man Nick, what's going on? How you feeling over there, baby?
What's up, baby? What's up, baby? What's up, Croc? Long time no
What's up,
see.
man?
You know how it
It's been a
goes.
while. It's been a
It's
while,
been
man. It's been a
it's been a
while.
while. And it's been so long because it was the last Niners win.
Yeah,
If you think about it, it was the
yeah.
last Niners win. We brought the luck there. We were there, representing. But hey, at least we won the home opener this year. But look, this week is going to be crazy. So, but anyway, what's going on? What's going on? Go ahead, Crack. It's all you, babe.
Oh yeah, just to kind of touch on like what it means for this area. I live in the valley, not far from the Bay Area. Obviously, I'm about 20 minutes from the Bay Area. 30 minutes from the Bay Area. About an hour from Santa Clara, San Jose. But man, this game means so much to the area. The Bay Area, I would say the 49ers have the larger fan base for sure. We have Jersey Day at the school I work at. Just walking around the Valley, the Bay Area, you'll definitely see more 49ers than anything else. This game means a lot, though. The last time we played, 49ers played the Raiders. It was in Oakland. That was one of Oakland's 3 wins on the season. That was an 8-win season for the 49ers. And I remember just hearing it and just being like, well, they're trash. But for 4 years, I've had to hear about, well, at least we beat the Niners, at least we beat the Niners. And just the rivalry, it is even more so like with the fans. I think it's a bigger rivalry within the fans than it is the actual organizations. But man, I'd give anything. I already gave one, but I can't give another one. But anyways, I'd give anything to win this game, man, and just the bragging rights that you have. I know at the end of the day it might cost us Nick Bosa, but that's something I'm willing. That's a price I'm willing to pay if it means just kind of being able to keep my pride at the end of this battle.
That's going to be wild. Guys, let me know if I start breaking up. I just got a little message here saying something about my network connection. So, but yeah, that's what's crazy is that, this is it. Like we talk about, I mean, the Niners can play the Raiders again and all that in the future, but it's not going to be a battle of the Bay. And so I kind of, Nick, my best way of relating to this is when the Giants and the Jets play each other. I mean, even the preseason games be turned. Like they really be wanting to go after, like, this is our house. No, it's our house. Like, 'cause they both play in the same stadium. I can only imagine what the city and what the Bay Area is like during times like
Oh,
this. I mean, Nick,
dude,
what?
listen. There's fights, there's stabbings. That's why they had to stop they had to stop playing in the preseason. We used to play the Raiders in the every preseason. They had to stop that because the people were getting stabbed and the fights and all that. Like it's like a real thing. There's a lot of hate amongst the fan bases. Shoes, like I won't even be able to look at my wife the same for a little while because she's a Raider fan. Like it's a big thing, man. Like it's a huge deal. Yes, my wife is a diehard Raider fan. My
Breaking
my other
news.
baby mama,
Breaking news.
my other baby mama, she's a diehard Raider fan. Like this is a big thing, man. Like in this area, it's a huge thing. Even amongst teams with one combined 2 wins right now. Nothing else matters but this game for the rest of the year.
I gotta ask, have y'all wagered anything on this game, man?
No, we haven't, but I'm pretty sure we will. I'm pretty sure that'll come. That'll come. I'm pretty sure. I'll let you guys know what it is.
That's crazy. That is crazy. Nick, so man, like from an outside perspective, what's the biggest thing you can compare this to? I mean, like a rivalry that is just happening just because, like, we're not in the same conference, definitely not in the same division. Like there's nothing here. It's just grounds. It's just territory. You know, I mean, this is like, you know, two male lions coming across each other in the wild. Like that's basically what it is. It's just for like, this is where I'm at. Like,
Yeah.
what do you compare it to?
I mean, for me being up north, I could consider it the same as you with the Giants and the Jets, because that's like a huge thing, you know, sharing the same stadium, which is actually New Jersey, and neither of them are New Jersey teams. But, you know, it's like Battle of the New Yorks, and the stadium's in East Rutherford, which is New Jersey, but I don't know. But that's probably the closest that I could come to, you know, in this area, other than like division rivals. But, you know, being in the Bay, I guess, you know, with the Chargers and shit like that, it's not the same because they're not Bay Area teams. So, you know, people are like, oh, because I said something to somebody the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, well the Niners are playing the Raiders for the last Battle of the Bay game, and they're like, what do you mean the last Battle of the Bay game? Isn't the Chargers in California? I'm like, yeah, but they're not like in the Bay Area, so you know, it's gonna.
The Chargers are like 8 hours away. Well,
Yeah.
when they were in San Diego, that's 8 hours away.
Yeah, so you know, so that's what one of the guys was saying. But I've never been to a Raiders Niners game. I was gonna go this year, but I was actually still a little nervous, just because, like Croc said, you know, there's always stabbings, there's always fights, there's always, you know, the Raiders fans come out in the woodworks and you know, try to take over Levi. So, but that's probably the closest I got is New York.
So I'm going through some of the comments in the live chat, man. I'm seeing people saying the Raiders are trash. Someone else, Elias, says the Raiders are easy to beat. They're nothing. We got to get to it, man. And I'm gonna be 100% with y'all, bro. I don't think the Niners beating anybody else this year. The Raiders have to be so bad to lose this game to the 49ers. Like it don't matter where we're playing. It's a home game for both teams. Both squads are going to come out and represent. It's on a Thursday night, so hopefully we get a calmer crowd. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe people are going to turn it into a long weekend and really get rowdy, but maybe we'll turn it into a calmer crowd. And by the way, folks, if you guys are interested in going to the game, I have 2 tickets. If you guys are interested in going to the game, I got 2 tickets. Hit us up, let me know, and we will get something worked out for you guys. All right. But yeah, so I can't imagine the Raiders, the Niners are so bad that I just don't think that there's a team in the NFL that we can beat right now. And I mean, Nick, I'm gonna go to Nick first. Do you honestly think that 49ers have a chance of winning this game? And that now they're saying that Beathard might not even be playing, which could be a blessing in disguise. But I'm just saying, like,
why we're gonna win this football game, because Beathard is not playing. If you watch any tape on Nick Mullins in college, he has very, very good pocket presence. He knows how to move around the pocket. He has got good footwork. And Kyle Shanahan probably hasn't seen that because, like I've said over and over and over again, this guy has only gotten 2 out of every 10 snaps, so he hasn't really had an opportunity. If you look at some of these other quarterbacks in the league who are really, really good now, we're playing behind starters, and they were backup quarterbacks. I know it's not the same, but right now I consider Nick Mullins as the backup. I don't consider him a practice squad guy. I don't consider him, you know, a third-string guy. Right now he's the second-string guy behind C.J. Beathard, who's the starter, due to the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo not playing, which we knew was going to be all year. So right now C.J. Beathard is the starter for the entire year, whether it's because of injury or not. He's the starter. If you watch tape of Nick Mullins, I just want to see what the kid has. And I truly think he's going to be better in the pocket than C.J. Beathard has been, because C.J. Beathard has been really, really bad in the pocket. And that's it. C.J. Beathard can – there's times he throws the ball well. There's times he does things right. And it's just like – it's like flipping a switch, because the Green Bay game, the holes that he had, he would take, and he would just run and get open. And then – last week against the Cardinals, what's he got, like 7 batted passes already at the line of scrimmage? Like, you know, like that's horrible. Like, you have to move around in the pocket. You got to shift your feet, because with somebody who can blitz, or a team that can blitz or can stop that and contain you, it's like There was 3 plays last week, which I think Nick Mullins will be able to. I don't care if it's against the piss poor ass Raiders. If this team can rally and get a win, I think that's why. I really think that's the reason why they're going to win this week.
Eric, I know you've been trying to talk it up, man. And I understand what Nick is saying. He's hoping that, just the basics and the fundamentals, if Nick Mullins could do these things better. But are the Raiders really bad enough where they're so bad that when our defense melts down in the fourth quarter, they're not going to take advantage of it? Like, we can dominate a game for 3 quarters and 7.5 minutes. And in the last 7.5 minutes of the game, we just don't show up. Like, you have to be really, really bad to lose to this 49ers team. You think the Raiders are there?
So if you were to when you look in the mirror and you see yourself, that's what this is. Like, if you look at the mirror, like the 49ers look in the mirror, like and the Raiders look in the mirror, like they see the same thing. They've had their fourth quarter meltdowns as well. Like, it's literally identical situations going on. Now, one thing I would give them the edge in is I think they obviously have the better starting quarterback. You know what I'm saying? And he's an experienced guy, and he's having his ups and downs and things like that. But at the end of the day, he's still Carr. He still has had a lot more success than anybody, that we can put at quarterback right now. So with him, I'll give them that edge. But on the flip side of things, I think on the 49ers, with their defense, has had more peaks. We've also had a lot of valleys as well. But they do things consistently bad on a play-to-play basis. The 49ers have bad plays here and there. They might give up a big play here and there. And it'll probably happen this game as well. But that happens more consistently, even with the Raiders. Where if Mullins is any type of decent, he should be able to march it down the field. And they also give up a lot in the run game as well. I think the 49ers are a team where, at times we look very good against the run. And that might be something that we have working in our favor. One other thing I think that's also in our favor is, I know we don't have the best pass rush, but their offensive line is terrible. It's god awful. I mean, watching the Raiders try to protect Derek Carr, it's almost embarrassing. I haven't seen anything that bad since Beathard against the Cowboys last year. Or Beathard against the Eagles last year. They have that tough a time protecting Derek Carr. And then on the flip side of things, they can't get after the quarterback at all. And I know we think we can't get after the quarterback. It's even worse with them. So the only real edge that I give them is I like Carr more than our quarterbacks, and that can be the deciding factor. Outside of that, there's nothing. The 49ers opened up as 4-point favorites. The fan was like, well, 4-point favorites, choose. Let me take the Raiders because they cover a 4-point spread, which I wouldn't bet on that either. But that's just how, like, people that don't have any kind of like biasness towards either team, they view this as the 49ers are really the better team. We just don't have we don't have no quarterback, and we have too many ups and downs. But the Raiders are really bad. Like, they're bad. And the 49ers are bad too. Don't get it twisted. We are bad, and we definitely find ways to lose. But like I said, looking in the mirror, they do the exact same. They find ways to lose. And their blows are kind of worse than ours. They cannot protect Carr at all. And they cannot get after quarterback at all. It is even worse than the 49ers.
We should have done an update before we jump right into this. I see people asking, wait, what are you guys talking about, Nick Mullins and everything? The 49ers made some roster moves today. So, Nick, I know you wanted to break that down really quick. My bad, man. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'll jump into the roster moves. But so what did we move? We moved Victor Bolden and Greg Maben were cut. We brought up Dakota Watson and Harris, correct?
I think those were the anticipated moves, right? I don't know if they officially did that.
I think they came up and officially said that they activated Dakota Watson and then brought up Harris.
Marcel Harris, the safety.
Yeah, Marcel Harris. And then CJ Beathard's hand and thumb is wrapped He said in a presser today he's hoping to play, but he didn't practice today. Kyle Shanahan said that if C.J. Beathard can't go tomorrow, that Nick Mullins he's ready to be the starter for Thursday night game. But I don't think he's going to go on one day of practice either. So I think who knows? Who really knows? But I personally would not start a quarterback on one day of practice when he can't even hold a football on the first day. Maybe he's just using that as a maybe it's still C.J. Beathard type thing instead of, but there's no real tape to watch on Nick Mullins either. So,
what's interesting about all of this is that C.J. Beathard has to be really hurt because he was like, I was happy to hear that my hand wasn't broke. Or I was happy to see that it wasn't broke. And do you know how he got? How he got the injury? It was a low pass. This guy's getting passes tipped like 5 times a game, and then he hurts his hand on a low pass across the middle. Like it's like that perfectly encapsulates this entire season for us. Like the backups are even doing the same things over and over and over and over, and now they're hurting themselves. Like that's just how the 49ers have been this year. Like we all the starters are just like gone. Like I don't even want to say what I want to say. I don't want to jinx none of the healthy guys, but this.
I got a question. So somebody in the room said, do you think this is a low-key bench by Kyle? My question to you on that is, do you think that, not that Kyle hopes anybody gets injured or anything, but do you think that maybe this will make Kyle just continue to go with Mullins because of the fact that, like how I said before, he's so loyal to CJ and not hurting CJ's feelings?
If Mullins plays well, I think they'll move with him going forward. That's just my. I mean,
well, and that's
like, did you
right.
see that picture of him sitting next to? I don't know what he was sitting next to. Thing. He's just like, damn, this is terrible. Like, he's looking for any positive, and then Mullins comes in and season.
I don't know if you can. You hear him, Nick? You're muted, bro.
No, he was breaking up pretty bad there.
Yeah, all right. So Eric, I don't know what happened with your reception, bro, but you kind of froze. But he was saying that he thinks that if Nick Mullins comes in and does well, that it's Nick Mullins' backup job now, right? Yeah. I don't know what he's saying. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
There you go. All right, try it again, bro.
All right. No, I was just saying, like, I saw the picture of Kyle Shanahan sitting on his butt, and he just looked like so down and out. And I think at this point, he's going to be looking for anything, any positive, anything to kind of boost the morale of the team and keep them going. And if Mullins comes in and plays a decent game, it's like, how do you go back to C.J. Beathard?
Yeah, and that was going to be my question to you guys was, if Mullins comes in and even if we lose the game but plays better, plays decently, do you think he switches and goes right back to C.J. Beathard, or do you think we have to win to bring C.J. or to keep Nick Mullins in?
You want to take it first, Eric?
I think, well, that's tough. I think he does have to win. I mean, obviously, like, without seeing the game, like, if he just goes out there and lights it up and somehow, like, we still lose just because the defense, can do what our defense does and just give up a ton, but you see Mullins score like 35 points and we still lose. I think in that type of an event, I think you can see him sticking with Mullins. But just if Mullins, puts up 20 points and we lose 20-24 or something like that, I think there's a chance he kind of sticks with Beathard.
I have something that I think is going to be the determining factor. First, I think it's very, very unlikely that Beathard is not back in there when he's ready or when he's healthy. But I think that if Nick Mullins can do well on third downs, give us like a 50% ratio, if we 7-14 throughout the entire game, and then if the game is close at the end and he goes down the field and has a convincing drive, if he can get it, like let's say it's 22-20, right? And the Raiders are up and we got the ball and we marching down the field methodically. One timeout and he playing the sidelines and he's doing his thing, right? And then with like 20 something seconds left, he throws a pass over the middle. It bounces off of Trent Taylor's hands and it's an interception. I think Nick Mullins keeps that job. I think it has to be something where he's moving the ball with consistency on third downs in particular, like the big money downs. And when the game was on the line, he's clutch. If he can show that, I don't think it necessarily comes down to winning or losing. Believe it or not, I know that sounds crazy, but right now Beathard's not doing anything regularly. Third downs are the money downs and 2-minute drills. That's what we need to see. The defense has been giving us a chance to stay close in every game so far this year. So I think if Mullins can come in and do that, like I said, 7-14, and have a really good drive to either end the half and or to go down and for the final drive of the game with a chance to win it, I think as long as the error that happens where we don't win it isn't on him, I think Shanahan will be like, all right, we got to do it. But if it's just another game where we jump out to a 15-3 lead and we don't do anything else for the rest of the game, like if it's the same as that game that we saw last week, he's definitely going to go back to Beathard.
Look, CJ Beathard has went from 27.8 points per game to 24 points per game to 15 points per game to 12 points averaging per game now, like 12.3. He is not running this offense the way that it should be ran.
And we're playing up against – and we're not all that defenses. Plus, the defense spotted us 5 points last game. I know they didn't kick the field goal, but he went 3 and out after the turnover that Tart almost ran in. The defense got us that safety, and then he went 3 and out right there on the spot, and we took the field goal. Like he's not helping the team at all.
Which is surprising too, because if you would have looked at the Chargers game and games like the Packers, it's like, man, there's something there. We were talking about it in the group chat. He's playing well, and that was what you wanted to see. Just his improvement from year 1 to 2, and like everybody else seems to be doing, he just all of a sudden just went backwards and started regressing.
Yeah, and it's a shame. But, I've been calling for Mullins for, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks now. I guess 2 weeks, really, like really hardcore 2 weeks. But the reason that I say that is because Kyle Shanahan at this point right now is to see – he should be using this time right now to see who his backup quarterback is going to be for years to come. Like, if CJ can't get it done, you have a guy that's been on your practice squad for 2 years who knows the playbook, whether he knows scout as well, but only getting 2 out of every 10 snaps. Let them battle it out. Like, at least let them battle it out with your record. You're not really, I don't want to say tank, but see if CJ Beathard is going to be the backup quarterback in San Francisco for years to come behind Jimmy Garoppolo, because it could really not be. It could really be Nick Mullins, or it could really be a different quarterback. And if Nick Mullins doesn't work and you don't have confidence in Beathard or Mullins, you have a draft. You need to know if you're going to have to draft another quarterback or not. So use this time to see, and that's the whole reason I've been getting so aggravated with Kyle Shanahan, is because it just seems like there's so much loyalty to Beathard, and I'm hoping that he takes a step back, because man, it was sad looking at him sitting in that locker room. Like, that was a sad picture, and these guys still care, because look, did you hear Eric Magnuson the way he came out? The guy was basically crying, like, you don't fuck that up. Like, this is a chance to win a game. But Eric, I don't think it was on you, bro. I think CJ still would have fucked it up anyway, one way or another.
He almost dropped the snap right before that. So, like, whatever. I want to get back to this Battle of the Bay, right? So, the reason I don't think the Niners can win this game is simply because of the quarterbacks. I don't care who our quarterback is. I think that Derek Carr has just a little bit more talent and will to win in him than anybody on the 49ers offense right now. The people who have the will to win on the 49ers offense are all injured. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo wants to win. I think Matt Breida really, really wants to win. I think Pierre Garçon hates losing. You know what I mean? Like, I think those are the guys that really want to win. Weston Richburg, probably the only nasty offensive lineman we got. He's not even in. I don't know if he's going to practice or play this week at all, but he's got some nastiness to him that I like. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot. Like, I feel like a lot of these guys are like, all right, this is what I'm trained to do. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do it the best I can. But there's no emotion behind it. I want some fiery guys out there. I think Derek Carr has more of that than anybody on the 49ers offense. So Derek Carr is going to be going up against our defense. We need to talk about this defense. Eric, I want to get your perspective on this, man. There's a lot of shuffling going on in that secondary right now. We're talking about Marcel Harris coming up. I don't know if you know anything about him. Jimmy Ward played last week at safety. I thought he played okay, but a lot of people were saying we need to get rid of Jimmy Ward. We need to get rid of Jimmy Ward. There were some high praises today coming from the defensive coordinator and Coach Saleh. He was like, I legitimately mean this, guys. He is honestly one of the best 11 players on this team. That's why we try to get him out there. It doesn't matter if he's at safety or corner. Robert Saleh sees something in him. He said that his biggest thing holding him back is injuries. How do you think the secondary did last week? Talk about the corners. I mean, whatever. Break down the defense as a whole. But I know like secondary is your passion, so break it down for us, E.
Yeah, I mean, I think they played as well as they could play. Um, you have guys out there like Tyvis Powell who hasn't had much time at safety. He's been more cornerback as long as he's been with the Niners. Recently moved to safety. I want to say Seattle kind of did some of the same things with him. He hasn't had in-game experience really at safety, so he got put in a situation that he just wasn't ready for. He gave up 2 scores. you know, hopefully he doesn't have to be back there again. Hopefully Tart's back. I don't know what's going on with Tart in the shoulder. I saw him in a sling on the sideline during the game. It must have been after he ended up checking out. Hopefully Tart's back. But I think as a whole, man, it's just banged up. So you have a lot of inconsistencies. You have a lot of ups and downs. You've had pretty much guys injured, since week 1. I think week 1 the secondary played well. After that, they've been banged up. They've been up and down. Confidence is going up and down in a lot of the players. And hopefully Richard Sherman can kind of, keep everybody together. Is Richard Sherman playing this week? Because I remember hearing that he wasn't going to be able to play the Cardinals and Raiders game. He was either going to play one or the other. So have you guys heard anything about if he'll be playing on Thursday?
He wasn't on the injury report, so he practiced today. So
okay. So
I know what you're talking about
that's
though, because
big.
Mike brought that up saying it was either he was going to play Sunday or he was going to play Thursday, but maybe he felt good playing Sunday, so maybe he's playing Thursday. He wasn't on an injury report today.
Yeah, he's a competitor. I didn't think he would miss 2 games. I mean, I didn't think he would miss the game just because he played last game. But there's nobody on the Raiders that like they don't scare me. They don't scare me. If I'm a defensive back, like they have some guys that can play a little bit, but like I'm not scared. Martavis Bryant, but they don't even use him. He had like 0 catches last game, so he's hit and miss. Nobody on the Raiders. They don't. Nobody scares me, but Derek Carr. Oh, the tight end Cook. He's good. But outside of that, I mean, who? So I'm not overly worried going into this game. I do think that Derek Carr, he definitely can throw the ball around. Like we know that he can easily throw for 300 yards this game. But he also has brain farts. He'll also give our guys chances for interceptions. So we were a little bit more opportunistic last game. Hopefully, we forced 3 turnovers or we have 3 takeaways. We need another game like that. I don't know who's all going to be out there, but if we have Ward, when he says Ward is one of the best 11 players on our defense, he's talented. It's just putting him in the right spot. And I think there's been a lot of play here, play there, and playing in spots that don't really fit him, but I know he's talented. So I do think that safety is his best fit, safety or the slot. I thought watching the film last year that he was a little bit late at safety. Go ahead, Mike.
While you're talking about Ward specifically, where they've been moving him around, Gohard asked a question in the room, in Ward's interview where he was talking about, well, if I don't get traded, he said that I was a safety that they moved the corner, and Gohard said, do you think he's taking shots at the front office? Like, it's not my fault that y'all kept moving me around all over. Not now, obviously, the front offices of the past because it's a different regime now. But do you think that he was trying to like send a statement with that message, like I was a safety, y'all drafted me, I was a safety, y'all moved me to the corner? Like that's
right,
what y'all have to do.
Yeah, I think so, 100%. It's like, man, this is where I feel comfortable, and this is where I want to play. And I thought, as a whole, the secondary played very well. I mean, the Cardinals' offense kind of sucks, so I don't know how much stock to put into that. You kind of have to really look at the bigger picture there. But in the games where they were supposed to play well against the Cardinals 2 times, the secondary played well. They didn't give it outside that one big play where Colbert kind of vacate moved away from the middle of the field and left Keller Witherspoon high to dry. But outside of that, they played extremely well that game. They played extremely well this last game. Let up at the end. Larry Fitzgerald was just better than us. I don't have too many worries about that. I just hope that our defensive line can dominate the Raiders front like they should. And if they do that, I don't see why, there's any reason why the 49ers can't win this game. They got to dominate the Raiders' wounded offensive line. If they do that, we'll win. And it'll help the secondary.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Mike, it looks like you have a call coming in now.
Yeah, no, I gotta re-download the app. I'm sorry, guys. So don't call in yet. Just guys, give me a second to download this app. But before we do that, all right, Eric, if the Niners can pull this out, and I know you've been talking about how they can do it, give me a final score. Like, do you think is it you talking like the Raiders defense is giving up like 30 points a game? Like, they're not that bad, right?
They are very. What's the word I'm looking for? You can score 30 points on them easily. It's not a defense that's very just like us. We haven't been the most opportunistic team defensively. They are pretty much the same. And I think Kyle Shanahan with his offense can really exploit that defense if Mullins is just able to execute a little bit. We should be able to run the ball on them. Marlon Mack and Hines had a field day against that run defense. Andrew Luck played very well. You saw they hung 42 points on them. I'm not saying we'll score 42 points, but I do think, I don't know how Brady's doing and stuff like that. But if Brady is healthy enough to play, it is a game where he can have a big game, and that'll definitely help out the quarterback. The defense sucks. And it's kind of weird because it's not like ours. 49ers, I think part of it is we've just played these explosive offenses. And I think that kind of like really put it, it was a gauntlet. I mean, you played against Matthew Stafford. You played against Andrew Luck, Patrick Mahomes on the road. Andrew Luck, Aaron Rodgers on the road. Patrick Mahomes on the road. Like these are tough games and tough quarterbacks that you're playing against. I don't think the Raiders are that. Not even Derek Carr. He's not those caliber of quarterbacks. In the games where the 49ers needed to play a little bit better, like when they didn't play against top-tier quarterbacks, they played well. 2 times against the Cardinals, they played well. Even against Phillip Rivers, 49ers defense actually played well. They gave up 240 passing yards, but they played well. Couple blown assignments. I don't think that they'll have just some super duper down game. I think a game where they're supposed to play well, they'll play well. The games when they're playing against a tough quarterback, they'll play bad. I think it's that's just how it's gonna go.
The fans are gonna go. I was gonna say 8-ish, but the fans are gonna go crazy if we go out there and put up a lot of points. The fans are gonna be mad no matter what. If we go out there and put up a lot of points on this team, people are gonna be like, "Oh, you got to start Mullins, get rid of CJ Beathard, da 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 da." If we go out there and we're really really bad, especially at the quarterback position, you know what's gonna happen? Bring in Cat. We're gonna hear it. We're gonna see it. People are gonna be saying it right away. If we go out there, every time there's a quarterback change in the NFL, and then they do something bad, people start flipping out and they want Cap again. It's gonna happen. I guarantee you. If you guys go down your timeline, you've already seen it already. It's gonna be that. And then we're going to be like, well, we got Tom Savage, because you got dumbass people like me who are going to be like, capping on the roster, the next man up is Savage. It ain't going to be Cap. You know what I mean? So it's just a lose-lose situation. But I am hoping that we win this game, because the Niners, we need one, man. I'm sorry. I know we're not supposed to win it. And I'm saying that because of draft position and everything. And we only have what? 5 draft picks this year. We need it to be as high as possible, man. We really, really need to be as high as possible. So,
All right, Joe, I have to cut because I got to get back in the gym. But I'll just say this. I think more than anything, we just need this game for the fan base. We win this game, I think the fan base will feel a little bit better about the season. And we'll be all right, man, going forward to kind of give the fans a boost of morale. But, yeah, I got to cut out, y'all.
thanks for joining us, E. We really appreciate it, man. We really do.
All right, y'all.
See ya. Look, you know why I want to win this game, Mike?
Because you're a Niner fan. We want to win all the games. Like, that's the thing. Like, well, I don't know if that's where you were going with it, but I honestly want us to win every single game. I know that right now we can't make the playoffs and all that stuff. I want us to win still. I want us to win every game we play. It's just I'm selfish. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. But the main reason, I mean, obviously because I'm a fan, I want to win. But I've been calling for Nick Mullins and been taking some heat about it on Twitter. So I'm going to get my ass handed to me if he comes out and plays like shit. So, but I'm definitely sticking with it, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to see if Mullins plays. I'm excited to see what happens. And let's just see what happens this week, man.
All right, well, I'm ready for the calls to come in. I'm hearing some feedback next. So turn your volume down just a little bit because I don't want that to happen when the callers call. There you go. And all right, guys. So the phone number is out there. I know that we had a missed call already. My apologies. I didn't have the app pulled up. The phone number, guys. It's time for the fans to sound off. This team is not going the way we thought it was going to in the 2018 season. The phone number, guys, 628-888-3443. Call in. Let us know how you're feeling. I see a missed call here. Oh, we got it. They even left a voicemail.
Yeah, somebody's calling in right now.
Well, maybe because you're logged in also. It's not. They're not calling on my end, bro.
No, I'm always logged in when you're logged in. Always.
All right, let me try to call him back because I see that it's a missed call. Boom. All right, let me try to call this person back. You hear that? Is that good? Give me a thumbs up.
What?
Yo, this is Mike with Nothing But Niners. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I think I got the wrong number.
Oh, we got the wrong number. Okay, thank you.
No, I'm playing. I actually wanted to touch on an issue that I don't know if you guys talked about yet. But it was actually, do you guys feel like Shanahan doesn't want to own up to his failures just yet? Is it me or is that what you guys feel too?
You know what? That's a really good question. I'm not sure if you mean it the same way, but Nick has kind of been insinuating this for the last couple of weeks. Nick keeps saying that this loyalty to guys like Beathard is, a Shanahan thing, exactly. But that's not owning up to it, right? Like that's kind of what it is.
Yeah. As far as like what I see, what I think that he is only due to the fact that you still see players like him. Like Garcon is still here. Like I'm not saying Garcon's a complete worst receiver on our team. I'm just saying the guy is obviously like. Let's just take like Anquan Bolden when he was here. When Anquan was here in that same role, Anquan didn't have the same speed or anything. Anquan Bolden just had that dog in him. You could just tell Anquan was just a complete savage, But no, I mean, Garcon, I understand that he has to work with, Beathard, but it's still, even when Garoppolo was here, I didn't notice anything that was anything big. And then also with Beathard, it's like, why don't you see that this guy is obviously failing? Like if this was like another coach of another team, this guy would have been out of here already. Yeah. Like how Nick been saying that Mullins should go in. I've been thinking that 2 weeks ago, And I don't know why everybody's going at Nick's neck for saying the obvious. Like the obvious is that hey, if a motherfucker plays like shit, he plays like shit. On to the next one. We're not about losing, but we're 1-6 right. So if you guys want to lose, I understand because we get a good draft pick. But there's no problem putting in someone else just to see what's right for the future. But if no one sees that, it's like, well, you're not really giving a fair chance. And all the people that want to keep talking about you know, that I don't know, like I've seen Niner fans that are just completely talking about Harbaugh again, just talking about all this nonsense. It's like
30 seconds.
You guys got to give that up. That is the past. You guys realize that every time you guys wear a Frank Gore jersey, fucking Kaepernick jersey, it ain't doing anything. If anything, try to wear a McGlinchey jersey. Do something. Wear a Kittle jersey. Quit thinking about the past as if you're still with it.
I like it.
It just really ticks me off.
I like it, man.
One more thing that pisses me off, though,
go ahead,
is players like Solomon Thomas, players like Arik Armstead that are taking up spots on this team that are allowing other players not to get on the field. It irks me so much, and I don't understand why these players. I get why they have to finish this year, but I don't get why next year they're still going to be here and they're still going to have prime roles. It's ridiculous at this point.
All right.
And everyone man, I just don't get it.
No, thank you for the call. I really do appreciate it. Keep listening. Thanks for the support. We really do appreciate it. We're going to talk about it, all right? Thank you, man.
Yeah.
So he's right. I mean, it's too early. Here's why the team can't give up on Solomon Thomas in particular. They invested too much into him. He's the number 3 overall. He's not just a first-round pick when your team is really good and you're picking in the 20s and 30s. This dude was a number 3 overall pick. You can't just toss him to the wayside. They did everything they could other than cutting him because they flat out reduced his picks, his play. They did everything they could. They moved him all over the place. I mean, the team did what they could to try to send the message to him. And yeah.
In Solomon's benefit, though, he has definitely been playing out of position. The coaches have finally seen where he's playing better at and have been putting him there. And he could be losing sacks because obviously who's inside. Or he's losing stats or plays because of who's inside right now. But I think the team is on the right path of seeing what they should be doing with Solomon Thomas. And the years that we've had him so far, he's been misused. You know, it's kind of like Ronald Blair. Like, you see Ronald Blair is getting more snaps on the outside. He's producing. He's getting more and more snaps each week. He was playing inside before. He wasn't playing on the outside. So the coaching is trying to move these players around. And I just can't, like, I'm not big on picking Solomon Thomas where we picked him, but I am big on what Ian Williams said on our show, where you have to let these guys get into year 2, year 3 to actually develop. And that also goes with the coaches on coaching them, because it's not just going to, I mean, not everybody's a Myles Garrett. Not everybody is, a Khalil Mack coming right out of college. Some of these guys need to change positions. Some of them need to learn different positions. I'm willing to give Solomon Thomas that one more year. If he doesn't hit that hump, then you got to be off with him. It's not like we're gonna lose his contract. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like we're gonna pay him big time money. Now, if he comes out and proves himself and plays inside, you also have the likes of Contavious Street coming out next year. Who we drafted this year. Ronald Blair's playing better.
Julian Taylor's on the sideline.
Julian Taylor on the sideline. So there's guys that can take over his spot, but I think he's finally starting to be utilized correctly, and with that utilization is going to come a better play from Solomon Thomas, whether it's 15 plays a game compared to 30 when he was on the outside doing nothing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I'm with you 100% on that. And that's why the caller said that he said Solomon Thomas and Arik Armstead are wasting roster spots and they're going to be back next year. I'm not sure Arik Armstead is going to be back. And you know me, I like Arik Armstead. But with what you said at the end there with Contavious Street, Ronald Blair playing better, and then Julian Taylor waiting in the wings, they might be willing to let Arik Armstead walk. I wouldn't like it. I like Arik Armstead personally.
Plus whatever we draft.
Right, plus the 5 picks that we got coming up in the 4, because the first one's going to be edge. I'm going to hold true to that forever. All right, so we missed a call from Florida. I'm going to give that caller a ring back now. You all right with that, Nick? You good? You ready?
Yep. Rock.
All right. Again, guys, if you want to call in, 628-888-3443. If we don't answer while someone's on the phone, we apologize. What's going on? Who are we speaking with?
John from Miami.
Miami in the building. How you doing, man? Sound off, man. Talk about your Niners.
I'm just frustrated. I need it. And maybe you
guys can help me out with some answers, man.
Give it to us, big fella.
What you say?
I said, give it to us, big fella. What's up?
Okay, listen, man. How come our front office can get rid of all Trent Baalke problems? They can throw out all the problems, but they can't see their own problems, like the defense, for instance. Solid defense. It's crazy, man. If you see something ain't working, why you constantly keep sticking with it? Why? I'd rather play the defense we had back in the 80s and 90s when we were dominant. Let the two safeties play the back ends. And I hate this scheme. I hate it. We ain't gonna never win. I don't care about no Richard Sherman locked down one side of the field. If it ain't Deion Sanders over there, get rid of the boot. It's frustrating, man. Like this, everybody says we don't have no talent. Harbaugh could come in with the same defense and have them playing top notch. It's this. I feel like our coach, GM. Man, I'm so aggravated and mad, man. I just want to talk to them. Something got to give, man. This defense don't work. We dead last.
Yeah.
Like all this single high safety. Let's play the defense how we had back in the 80s and 90s. Let them work. Yeah, we gave up touchdowns, but this defense, man, somebody got to talk to me. I'm frustrated. I'm mad.
Yeah, John, listen, man. I mean, so the reason Kyle Shanahan picked this defense is because with him being the offensive guru that he is, he said this was the hardest defense for him to prepare for because it's just sound. They don't give up the big plays. They keep everything in front of them. Like that's just the way they ran their defense. He wanted to emulate or replicate that Seattle style defense, and that's what he was looking for. So it's not happening. We're clearly letting up a lot more points, but I know Nick wants to touch on it also. So I'm going to let you go. Is there anything else that you want to say before I let you go, so that way you can hear what Nick has to say also?
Yeah, and just one more thing too. I think whoever, I don't know who's in charge with the personnel, but they're making some bad decisions. It's like we had this last game, Powers come in and give up 2 touchdowns. Who in the hell is responsible for these players? And they showing you time and time again they cannot play, and our coaching staff and GM still putting these guys on the field. It's crazy.
Oh.
Like, somebody need to take responsibility to this. This is crazy. Oh. A little 10-year-old girl, a 5-year-old kid can see the problem. They study putting guys on the field who can't play. Powers need to be cut. I'm glad they got rid of Maven. Like, I can go out there and play corner. Like, this is insane what's going on. And these guys still putting trash out on the field. That's why we ain't gonna never lose with these personnel picks. It's crazy.
All right, John, man.
One more thing. That's just like the edge. We need speed on the edge. Peter, why now you not playing? Why? We got these big, long, 6'7" big edge. They too slow to bend the edge. He's a power player.
I like it.
It's like the personnel is wrong. It's all wrong for this defense. And man.
All right.
Crazy,
No. You getting it off your chest. That's good, man. That's therapeutic. I appreciate it. All right. So we're gonna talk about everything you just said. So get back to the show. That way you can hear our responses to it all. Okay.
All right. Cool.
All right, John. Be safe out there, bro. My man was upset, Nick. Nick, I know there's some things that you want to touch on. I got a couple of things I want to touch on. You go first. I've been talking a lot. You handle your business, man.
First to touch, Jim Harbaugh was handed a stud defense. A studded defense. They weren't young players in 1-2. Our most tenured guy other than Richard Sherman is DeForest Buckner on defense. Like, you got to cut some slack. Powell was in for an injured player. I mean, he's a third stringer. Like, come on. Like, I can't sit here and say, like, he's wrong in every aspect, but there's a lot that he was wrong about. this scheme is like you said, Mike, is a fundamentally sound defense. When you have the right players in this defense, which I think we're working towards, it's not going to just happen overnight. Like, the long, lanky corners, our safety. I mean, come on. None of us would have guessed Adrian Colbert was going to have the year that he had this year. Most of the big plays that we gave up were on blown coverages. And most of it was on Colbert. If it wasn't on Colbert, it was on a corner. And bad read or a strong safety. So why, like, we gotta cut back on all the blame on just this scheme, or because it's not just scheme. It's about the players that are in it, the ability to adapt to it, and it takes time to learn. This is our I would say really the first year on defense in this scheme with the players that we have now, because there's so many starters that are starting that weren't starting last year. But to blame and say, if you bring Jim Harbaugh in here right now, that he would win this, he would win, and go and win whatever. That's just riding Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh was handed a Super Bowl caliber team on defense. I mean, the pass rush on that team, let alone, made our corners look extraordinary. Like, you had friggin' Culliver playing corner out there. You had Brown, but you had on the line the likes of the Cowboy and Alden Smith, and you had in the middle Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman, at their primes. So our team is nowhere near that team, and you can't go on that. So, Tyvis Powell was in there for a third stringer. Guys, we got to cut some slack on some of these players, man. I understand there's a lot of mistakes, and it frustrates me too, but I just can't get Ian Williams out of my head saying that it takes an NFL player 2 years to really start adapting to a defense or to an offense. Just the NFL adapting to life in the NFL, and 3 years coming to 3 or 4 years coming to their prime. So, Mike, that's all I want to say about that. That got me frustrated.
No, so all right. So let me first address the whole Harbaugh thing, right? Harbaugh was an offensive coach. That was the genius of Vic Fangio, not Harbaugh. Harbaugh was the offensive coach. But I understand what he was saying. It was that we saw an instant turnaround with Harbaugh. So I understand why fans feel like the team went from, because we were literally, what were we, 5-11 or 6-10, because that was the year that Singletary was fired in the 15th game. And then the 16th game was Tom Sula. Then they hired Harbaugh that offseason. We turn around and go 13-3. So I understand why people say that. I understand why they say we want to see the old stuff, the old style. This single high isn't working and things like that. But John kind of answered his own question. He said in here, this isn't the right personnel for this defense. I question these personnel decisions that they're making. I'm glad they fired. He said, I'm glad they fired Greg Maben. And so when he said that, he got me to thinking, it's like, you know what? It makes a lot of sense, but he's answering his own question. The reason why this defense isn't working the way it is supposed to is because we don't have the right personnel. Just like John was saying, we don't have that speed coming off the edge. We leave these guys on an island a lot in this style of defense. And when you do that, you got to get somebody who can get home. That Seattle defensive front, they had a lot of guys who were getting after it. Red Bryant, Martellus Bennett. They had a lot of guys who were just going after it. And whether it was with power or whether it was coming off the edge with speed, they were doing it in an effective manner. These guys weren't out there giving quarterbacks, 6 or 7 seconds in the pocket. They were getting after these guys from the jump, from the rip, And so we don't have that. For better or worse, you can do it with power. You can do it with speed. You can do it with a combination of both. We just don't have enough of it consistently. So he was kind of answering his own questions. It's the personnel. Now, a lot of the personnel that is here is kind of guys off the street. Think about Sheldon Day and Earl Mitchell. Those are free agents that just were picked up randomly, right? You think about our best defensive lineman, and that's DeForest Buckner. Well, this draft, this front office, this regime, they didn't draft him. He's a leftover guy. You look at a guy like Eric Armstead. He's a leftover. He's not somebody who this this front office and this regime went out of their way to go and get. Now, he did ask a hell of a question that I personally agree with a lot. Why isn't Peter Taumapinu on the field? They're talking about activating. Well, they did. They brought up Dakota Watson. I can't even say brought up. I guess they signed him. It wasn't even brought up because Dakota Watson's been in the league for a while. I don't think he was on a practice squad anywhere. They signed Dakota Watson to the 53, and he's looking like he's going to get game time now. Why haven't they brought up Peter? Where's his speed, like he said? And that's what Peter's game was. Now, they asked Peter to add weight. They wanted to move Peter to Sam. I don't know what their plan is for Peter Taumapinu, but like John was saying, I agree with him there. They just didn't have any speed. But here's another thing that John said, that it was, he talked about how he was glad that they cut Maben and Tyvis Powell had no business being out there. I agree. And honestly, John, I believe Robert Saleh and the rest of the staff agreed with you also. But the only reason Tyvis Powell was out there was because we lost 2 safeties in that game. He didn't go out there as a corner. Tyvis Powell was filling in for a safety. We lost Tart and we lost Exum Jr. in that game. And so when things like that happen, you start scrambling. You start hitting the shuffle button in a drastic way. So they couldn't just put anybody back there. They had to put a guy back there who they felt could keep the game in front of them and play well. And that's how you end up with Tyvis Powell. Tyvis Powell was not something that was done by design or even by desire, John. And I understand your frustration, bro. I want to see this defense do better. It feels like every game we're just giving up 28-plus points. Every game. It don't matter who we play. Josh Rosen and the worst offense in the NFL, those guys are coming in here and they're just putting up 28 points on us. That's what they did in San Francisco or in Santa Clara. That's what they did on our home turf. So I understand your frustration. Every game it just feels like, the defense just giving up. And then the games that the defense does well, look at this last game. They held them. They were doing good. And then the last drive, they just didn't have the gusto to do it. But that's because you had guys like Tyvis Powell who were in there, and you had guys like Malcolm Smith moving over to the will position and moving from the Sam. These are things that were happening. The team has got so many injuries. We haven't seen this defense be healthy. And I sound like I'm making excuses for them, but I'm not trying to. But at the same time, I kind of am. I like the defensive scheme. I have seen Robert Saleh put these guys in really, really good positions, and the guys don't execute. If you guys have been following along with us here, when the season first started, I was getting on the defense that I think the defense's best game was week 1. To this day, first quarter through the fourth quarter, I think the defense's best game was week 1. And I will stand by that without a doubt. Then you look at things that happened later on, and there were plays where we were just complaining about missed tackles. Guys right there in the backfield, they're getting to the quarterback, they're getting to the running back, they couldn't tackle. These were the things that we were seeing. So I understand John's frustration. I understand why he's saying that the defense don't look like it's right, but I understand why Kyle hasn't changed his defensive scheme yet. I understand why Kyle is sticking by his defensive coordinator, because there's certain things that can work if the players can execute. But it goes back to what John was saying about the personnel. They have to get the right guys in here. We have to get that edge presence. You know what I mean? Think about this, and then I'll let Nick come in here, or if anybody else wants to call 628-888-3443. Guys, the phone line is open right now. But think about this, right? You think about all the corners that played opposite of Richard Sherman. There was Browner over there. There was oh my God, help me out here, Nick. Can you remember any of those guys? There was a lot of guys. There was Browner. Oh my God, there's like 3 of them that they all went other places and did nothing.
From Seattle?
Yeah.
Bruce Irvin.
No. Just the corners. The
corners. Browner.
Damn it. I'm gonna look it up because I'm gonna cheat.
Yeah, I'm thinking I forget the other person, but then you have Sherman left, obviously. Damn, what the hell was the other corner's name?
But my point with this was my point with this was that no matter who played opposite of Richard Sherman, they always seemed to look like they played well in that Maxwell, right? Browner, Maxwell, and there was someone else. Let me see. Jeremy Lane, Byron Maxwell. Yep. Let me see who else there was. And it seemed like every year they were losing another one of their guys, right? They were losing another one of their
Wasn't the other dude that went to Philly?
That was Browner, wasn't it? Or did he go to where did Browner go? Did he go to the Patriots?
Yeah, Browner went to the Patriots. That was the year Patrick Chung left Philly. Jenkins.
No, they didn't have Jenkins. Jenkins was with the other division opponent, the Rams. But my point was this: no matter who they plugged in across from Richard Sherman, it always looked like they played okay. You know why? Because they had a good pass rush. They always had a good pass rush. And if you have a good pass rush, it makes your secondary look a lot better. That 2011 secondary that the 49ers had with Chris Culliver and Rodgers and Dante Whitner and Sean Goldson, and who was the other guy? There was Rodgers, Culliver, and
Terrell
Brown. Those guys weren't world beaters. Those weren't a crew of really good corners, even though that we allowed the fewest yards in the NFL, that we led the league in turnovers. It wasn't that they were good. That pass rush was serious, and it caused a lot of errant throws by opposing quarterbacks. That's what they had in Seattle. That's what they.
Any secondary will get exposed if you don't have a pass rush.
Yes,
because you're not going to be able to guard a receiver for 5, 6, 7 seconds.
Yes,
it's just impossible because they know routes they're running. You don't. So as a defender, so if you have no pass rush, any secondary, doesn't matter who you are, is going to get exposed. If you have a good pass rush, it's going to make your secondary look that much better.
Yeah, and that goes to justify what John from Miami was saying. The team doesn't have the right personnel for this defense to execute. Until we get that pass rusher, until we get that speed off the edge, we're going to see similar results in that secondary. It's just how it's going to be, especially in 2-minute drill time, especially when the defense is playing in the 2-minute drill. All right,
especially in this scheme period.
Yeah. Now, yeah, exactly. It's how the scheme needs a good pass rush. And it can come from the middle, it can come from the edge, but this team needs it. This scheme needs good pass rush to be effective. You look at that Jaguars defense that was so stellar and amazing last year, right? They were getting after it on that defensive line. They were getting after it. They were really getting after it. So that's what I wanted to say. All right, we have a resident GM in here, guys. Again, guys, the phone lines are open. If you guys want to vent, you want to get something off your chest, that was a great call by John. If you guys want to vent, give us a call, 628-888-3443. In the meantime, I'm going to chat it up with my man, Tony. What's going on, baby? How you doing?
What's up, Mike? How are you?
I'm all right, man. You know, this team is not what we expected it to be right now, and the trade deadline just passed. Tell me some of the moves you were hoping the 49ers would make, whether it was sending guys or bringing guys in. Tell me some of the moves you were hoping that we would make today.
I was hoping to get rid of anybody that's not in the team's futures plans. Because to be honest with you, I mean, like, I think me and you agree. I even think Nick said something about this with the rookie Taylor from Temple. Him and Armstead play the same position.
Hold your thought, bro. Let me get this call on here, okay?
Go ahead.
Fresno, California. You're on with Nothing But Niners. Hello. Going once. Hello. Fresno, California. Can you hear me? And they're gone. Let me try to return the call. All right, Tony?
Go ahead.
Let's see if we can figure out who that was. Here we go. All right.
Hello?
Hey, you're on with Nothing But Niners. What's your name?
What's going on? Jose.
Jose, what's going on, man? Tell me how you're feeling, man. What's going on?
Well, shit, I haven't really watched a whole lot this year. You know, I'm a truck driver. I've been busy and shit, so Sundays it's kind of tough. But I did watch this past game, and I see some shit like with the defense that the play calling some of it it trips me out. Like, you got Foster covering wide receivers, you got linemen on running backs. Like, that shit makes no damn sense. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I know people been calling for Saleh and this and that, but I know the scheme works. It's just like everyone's saying, you know, the personnel, that shit ain't right. And then as far as the offense goes, man, Better takes too many damn sacks. There was times where he had guys open. Sometimes they weren't, but, you know, throw the fucking ball away. Like, I don't know how many times I yelled at my damn phone because I was streaming it. I was yelling at the damn phone, like, you need to throw the fucking ball away. Especially, like, he's already outside the pocket. You need to throw that shit away. Don't take a fucking sack when you're 10 yards outside the pocket.
Yeah, bro. Listen, man, I'm right there with you. I'm watching, and I'm not a quarterback. I'm not in the game. But when he drops back, I have an internal clock as a viewer. All right, bro, time to get rid of the ball. Get rid of the ball. Get rid of the ball. Why do you still have the ball? No! Like, it's watching it happen over and over and over. He just doesn't have it. He doesn't have the mental clock to know when to get rid of the ball.
Yeah, and, you know, as far as calling in Nick Mullins, I think at this point we got nothing to lose. Ain't nothing wrong with it. And all that cap talk, like, fuck all that. Like, that's years ago, you know. But I think right now, like Nick said, it's like, bring him in, see what you got for when Garoppolo comes back. Because if he goes down again next year, well, we're going to put Beathard right back in again and end up in the same fucking position we are now.
Well, even if you think that Beathard is the guy, right? And I want to get your thought on this also. Even if you think Beathard is the guy, wouldn't it make more sense to preserve him? He's hurt his wrist. He's been taking some seriously big and heavy shots. If you want Beathard, as Kyle Shanahan, to come back next year as your backup quarterback, and he's got a hurt wrist, use this opportunity to bench him and let him get his head back in the game. Let him figure out the game more from a mental standpoint, because that's where he's lacking. He's got the ability. He can throw the ball a mile. That no one's questioning that. He can take a hit. He can scramble. We see it. He doesn't know how to put it together. Let him step back, put the backup quarterback in, whoever it is. I don't care if you put in Tom Savage. I don't care if you put in Nick Mullins. But if you want to preserve C.J. Beathard for your future, if you're Kyle Shanahan, get him out of the lineup right now, because it's not the offensive line. The offensive line is protecting. They're giving him time. It's all on C.J. Beathard.
Yeah, the offensive line. I did some research. I think they're ranked in like the top 6 or 5 or some shit.
Yeah.
At least by, you know what I mean. And so it's obviously not the line. Yeah, there might be a weak spot with what is it? Our fucking on the right side. But other than that, you know, like, it's actually a solid line. You know, our run game is working through that same line. But right now, yeah, Better his mindset is kind of be able to move the damn ball downfield. Like, he, you know, like I said, he's taking sacks when he's not supposed to. There's times where he doesn't even try to fucking run away. Like, he just cuddles up and fucking goes down, you know, instead of, like, don't get me wrong, the guy has heart. He's taking some damn hits that are like, holy shit, you know, but
heart,
at the same time, it's like,
yeah,
if you're outside the damn pocket and you see a lineman on your ass, throw that shit away. You're not going to get a penalty for throwing it away out of bounds. You know, it's simple. But those kind of things, I don't know, he just, it's more on him than it is the line, like, to why he's rattled the way he is. But, you know, you're a fucking NFL quarterback. Throw that shit away. You know what I mean? Like, that should be an instinct in every fucking quarterback that plays.
Yeah.
Throw that damn ball away. Don't take a sack. Like, you see Russell Wilson, he's always running for his fucking life all the damn time. But
he knows.
Damn ball away. He doesn't take sacks the way Beathard's been taking them. And I'm not trying to compare Beathard to Wilson. That, you know, that's just like fucking far off. But
yeah,
still, you know, there's like, still, if you have time to throw it away, just do it. It's not hard. I mean, like you said, I'm not a quarterback, so you know, maybe it is hard. Fuck, I don't know, but you know what I mean. Like,
I hear you, bro.
Where it's clear. You can really throw it away.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. And, you know, not only is throwing it away an issue, the batted passes constantly, Like, throw the ball higher. Russell Wilson's one of the shorter quarterbacks in the NFL. He manages to get the ball up and over where they're not all batted down and things like that. The strip sacks and things like that. I mean, thank God we didn't have any turnovers last week, but there's still a lot of negative about the quarterback. You know, I thought that the turnovers were the biggest issue. We didn't have any turnovers, and I'm still like, this guy is really bad. We got to move on. So I want to thank you for your call. Thank you for your time. Thanks for the support also. I really appreciate that. I hope you stick with us, all right? All right. Tony, man. So let's get back to it. I know you said you wanted to get rid of some of the guys who aren't going to be the future building blocks here. I mean, who did you have in mind? By the way, what do you think about that phone call too? Like, let me know. Was there anything in that call that stood out to you? To talk about Beathard, you know, to talk about the defense. Like, what do you think?
Oh, I mean, he made a couple of valid points. I just think that clearly, I mean, I don't know what happened from the Green Bay game till now. I mean, obviously, this game, Weston Richburg was out. I think, in my opinion, we spoke about this, that the center is probably the second most important position on that offensive line in Shanahan's system. And bringing in Magnuson, I mean, listen, I'm a fan of Magnuson, but I mean, there is a drop off in talent. That's why obviously they spent the big money on Richburg. But as far as CJ, I mean, it's all pocket presence, zero pocket presence. I don't know what happened, but I mean, that defensive coordinator, I don't know who it was for the Cardinals. They just blitzed them every play, and they said, you know what? If you're gonna beat us, you're gonna beat us with your arm, like the commentators said and everything. And clearly he couldn't do that. I mean, balls were high, low, in the ground, getting batted down. I don't understand how all these balls keep getting batted down by him. He's a 6'2" quarterback. It's not like he's 5'11". And as far as Russell Wilson, I mean, if you could give Russell Wilson's pocket presence, pocket awareness, we have a pretty good quarterback on our hand, in my opinion. But I mean, I took notice. I watched it on my phone. It seemed like he kept dropping his eyes. As the first minute he felt like he was under pressure, you saw like his helmet would drop, his eyes would drop, and once that happens, you're done, bro. You could have Jerry Rice running a slant, you're still not gonna hit him.
You're absolutely right, man. I completely agree with you. And it's rough. Like, it's like it does. People keep saying, "Oh, our wide receivers aren't good enough. Our wide receivers aren't good enough." I don't believe for a second that our wide receivers went from getting wide open with Jimmy Garoppolo to just not knowing how to run routes now that CJ Beathard is in. But I want to ask you this question, Tony. People were talking about, you know, if we put in Nick Mullins, what's going to happen with the rest of the team? How do they play? Now, I haven't played in a real competitive team sport in a long time. But when I did, when we knew that one of our leaders were out and someone else was stepping up, someone who was worse, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We have to compensate for what that person is not going to be able to do for us. Mm-hmm. Do you think that by some miracle, if he doesn't play, by the way, guys, we don't know for sure that Beathard's not going to play. But if by some miracle Beathard is confirmed to be out and Mullins is in, do you think there's a chance that it could spark the team? Do you think that it could spark the defense? Guys, look, we don't have our normal guy. We don't have our 1 or our 2 over there. We really got to step it up this week. The wide receivers or the tight ends or the offensive line, we got to give this guy who's not as good as the other guys a little bit more time. We got to catch everything that touches our hands. We got to run a little bit harder, a little bit faster, be more decisive. Do you think that it could spark the rest of the team and possibly be something positive?
I think so. I really do, because let's face it, Mike, we're 1 in 6? We're pretty much eliminated, right? We're 0 for 2 versus Arizona, the weakest team in the division besides us. I'm not saying, you know, tank, but let's see what we got on this roster for going forward. I mean, we're not going to make the playoffs. We all know that, even though we're going into the weakest part of our schedule. I think, listen, if this guy takes that team down the field in the first drive and scores, if he's the starting quarterback, which I have a funny feeling he will be, because the way they're talking this up about his hand, his injury, and stuff like that. If he takes that team right down the field and score, I mean, you saw him in the preseason. I mean, I understand it's preseason, playing versus 2s, 3s, and 4s, guys that aren't even going to make the NFL on any team. But, I mean, the kid shows that he could command the huddle. He shows he's got, you know, presence. But I'm not comparing him to an NFL starter. But, I mean, listen, if he comes in, he takes the team down, going down the field once on his first drive, they're going to start rallying around him and start doing things for him, breaking their balls a little bit more, but staying on the block longer, running the route harder, like you said, the pass rush, they're going to fight harder. Like I said, like in our group chat, I mentioned someone because Mike did the article on possible names that could be dealt at the deadline. And I said Joe Staley. Have you seen Joe Staley's face on the sidelines? He looks frustrated as hell. And can you blame him? I mean, the guy gives his all. He's been on the team the longest. Great guy, respectful guy, gives 110% every game. But, I mean, I kind of feel bad. He's a vet on a young team that's in a rebuilding process. I would love to see him get a ring in San Francisco, but, I mean, it's not going to be this year. And I don't know if it's definitely going to be next year. I think in my opinion, this roster is going to be flipped again. I mean, they're going to eliminate everybody. They have to, because this defense, like we said earlier when I first came on, the number one thing is the pass rush. That is the most important thing to make this system go. Have you seen Seattle's defense struggle under Pete Carroll when they were contending every year? We were facing them in NFC championship games? No. We don't have the parts to run this system. That's just my opinion. I can go on a tangent about this and the reasons why and my beliefs, but I'm not. All right, I mean, I'll go on it then. This falls onto the coaching side. My opinion with Robert Saleh. I mean, I like the guy. He seems like a good coach, but my thing is, if you don't have a dynamite speed rusher. What's up, Nick? You don't have a dynamite speed rusher off the end. Why are you not adjusting this system to try to be competitive? If you watch that game, we got picked apart going right down the field. Dinks and dunks, the drop balls. If you don't have rush, that quarterback will pick this defense apart. Look at how bad Jacksonville's struggling. Atlanta's defense is struggling. I think, like we spoke about this, I think maybe 2 roundtables ago, the league figured out this system.
I agree with you that the league is figuring out the system, because Seattle was like the not like top-notch defense in the league with that defense, as well as Jacksonville. They were doing really well with it. And I think people started to figure it out. I agree with you to the point where we need a pass rush for it to work. I think, you look at all these defenses that have played this system, and they all had pass rush, like all really good pass rush. So I don't think that we don't have the right personnel. I think our secondary's fine. I think it's just we're really missing that true edge rusher that will make a difference, which will help Buckner out, which will help if Armstead's still here, will help Armstead out. Or Solomon Thomas in the middle, or see what Contavious Street has, or Ronald Blair, or I think we have talent. I think it's just we're missing that core piece, because if you think about it, not to say that Alden Smith wasn't good, but Alden Smith wouldn't have been what he was without Justin Smith. Mm-hmm. So, because you've seen Alden Smith went to Oakland and he really didn't do anything when he was playing until he had troubles again. But I mean, you look at the likes of Alden Smith and Justin Smith. You look at the likes of Aaron Donald and the Dominic Sue now. Like, Aaron Donald's eating even more. Like, you always need that other pass rusher type player on a line, whether it's coming from interior or exterior, to make you that much better, because you demand double coverages on one or the other. You can't double both of them, so it's always going to open somebody up. So I really think we're missing that.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, so we got another call. I'm going to return the call really quick. I'm going to get to this one. All right. There we go. Let me tell you, when this phone rings, it scares the hell out of me. It's loud. It's coming through a Bluetooth speaker. I don't expect it. It's nuts. Don't you start singing in here. Oh, driver's not picking up now. Driver, you there?
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, man? You on with Nothing But Niners? What's going on? Sound off, man. You got the floor is yours.
All right, man. I'm watching you right now live too. Anyways, man, you know, I'm watching this team. Listen to you talk. It's our personnel. It's the personnel. It's not the scheme. It's not our coaches. We don't have the right guys out there. You know, we picked up the piece that we needed last year, which was the quarterback. And I was telling Rombo, if we lose him, it's over. Because Garoppolo is the only thing that's gelling this team together. Well, was until he got hurt.
You know what's weird about that?
You know, like Ian was saying, without a pass rush, our secondary looks like shit. And it's going to be like that until we have a pass rush.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And, you know, before Jimmy came, the team, like, was just up and down, up and down. The Giants game, we remember that game because that was our first win.
No. It was Jimmy. I mean, we needed that piece, and we got him last year. Before Jimmy, it was the same story that we are in right now. Up and down. Beathard is Beathard. Beathard is not a starting quarterback caliber. I mean, look at the guy. And look at his body structure, his attitude, his personality. Dude, I mean, if I'm a player, come on, man. He's not a leader. I need somebody that, you know what I'm saying? We need a guy that yells at people, that cusses people out.
Well, I do think that Beathard is.
Dogs, man.
Yeah,
look at our defense. Nobody is mean. You guys remember Ahmad Brooks? Oh, that motherfucker never smiles.
Hell yeah.
He's always mad. We need people like that.
Yo, that's funny that you say that because I agree with you. I that's why I like mean offensive linemen. I feel like that was the last hope. I think personally, Reuben Foster would be a shit talker on the field. But I think that the coaching staff is trying to get that out of him. They want Reuben to be this new good guy, turn over a new leaf. We need people who are nasty. We need tone setters on the defensive side of the ball. We need tone setters on the offensive side of the ball. That's why Alex Boone was one of my favorite offensive linemen. Nobody wanted to mess with Alex Boone. He was a nasty, tenacious dude out there.
He was a nasty guy.
Yeah, and we don't
like that right now in the O-line is Richburg.
Yeah,
and he's hurt.
Exactly.
Bailey's too goofy. You talking about Reuben Foster? I mean, dude, he don't have. I don't know if I see the dog in him. I need somebody mean, like somebody who's always mad. You know what I mean?
I think now this is going back to his college days. This is watching him when we first got him. I think Reuben Foster with the helmet on has the dog in him. He plays harder than he's supposed to. He's got the tenacity. He's the type of guy to get up, talk a little bit of junk. You know what I mean? Like Reuben Foster is that guy. But like I said, I think that this coaching staff is trying to change his image, and it's holding him back a little bit. I honestly
think Fred Warner could be that guy, bro. I worked with his cousin, with his little cousin. And he tells me Fred's a kind of a bully.
Oh, okay.
Towards his family members. You know what I mean?
I didn't know that. That's new information to me.
I work with his little cousin. I work with Peter's little cousin as well.
Oh, all right. That's what I'm talking. Now, why do you think?
They tell me those guys, when they have little family reunions, they're kind of a bullies towards other guys or little guys or the smaller guys, you know? So I would expect that from them. But, you know, our offense, our team right now, there's no hope for it this year. It kind of reminds me of, professional wrestling, WWE. How it's all scripted except the physical part.
Yeah. Yeah, you feel like.
So I believe if it's scripted, maybe, they're going to take Garoppolo out this year and let us blow up next year. I don't know. Maybe that's the case.
Well, you think about it this way, right? If the 49ers in this defense are missing one piece, and that one piece is the best pass rusher available. We're not going to get that one piece if we went 8-8. We're not going to get that one piece if we won 10 games and didn't make the playoffs. So is it scripted? Is this part of the plan? I don't think the injuries are part of the plan, but maybe now that they know Garoppolo's not around, maybe they're hoping not. I don't know how to say it. Wait. Hold on. Wait. Don't say it yet. The Bluetooth is connected. Hold on.
No, it wasn't part of tanking, if that's what you're trying to say.
Can you hear me? Oh, shit. Hold on. Driver, you there?
Yeah.
Let me try to put you back on the Bluetooth. Hold on. All right, there you go. Go ahead.
But anyways, yeah, we might even blow up next year. You know, I was telling my wife that. You know, it feels like everything is scripted for some reason. Like they choose a team to win this year. I don't know. And, you know, just looking at our team right now, yeah, we don't have the personnel. Not in our roster. You know, there's nothing wrong with the scheme. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
They put up points.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. We're gonna keep talking about it over here. Thanks for calling in. We appreciate the help, man, and the support. Keep up the support and love, and let us know if we can help you out also. All right, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate your show, man. I like what you're doing and shit.
Thanks a lot, man. We really appreciate it.
Man.
We sure will.
Thanks
a lot, man. I appreciate it. You know, he said that next year might be our year. I'm gonna say something now that I haven't said on camera, haven't told anybody about this. I have a $100 bet that the 49ers are going to make the Super Bowl next year. Now, to be fair, before Tony and Nick start killing me for this one, to be fair, I made this bet in the offseason after we got Jimmy locked up long term and before the draft. I made this bet that the 49ers were going to make the Super Bowl not this year, but next year. It was a 2-year bet. It's $100 on this bet. It's one of my buddies at the cigar parlor. So we lost Jimmy Garoppolo in like week 3 or 4, and he pulls me to the side. He says, "Hey, Mike, man, we made a very public bet. We made a big spectacle of it. Everybody saw us." He says, "But man to man, I got to ask you, do you want out? Because I'll let you buy your way out." I said, "What does that mean, buy my way out? How do I buy my way out of a bet?" He said, "If you give me $50 right now, it never happened." I said, that's half of the cookie. I said, for that, I might as well take my chances with us making the Super Bowl. Like, what do I'm like, hell no. He was like, "Mike, I'm telling you, y'all have no chance of making the Super Bowl next year." I said, "Bro, Jimmy is gone. Our defense isn't as bad as they look. We just don't have a pass rusher. We get a pass rusher, our defense improves like crazy. Jimmy comes back, the offense gets confidence, the offense improves like crazy. And if by chance Jerick McKinnon is still on this roster, that's a big cog that Kyle Shanahan needed." To him, I'm talking, and he doesn't know anything about Jerick McKinnon. You know what I mean? He doesn't know what Jimmy Garoppolo does for the offense. He doesn't know anything about how the pass rusher and all the other players on the defense are young and ready and another year of experience to help them out and all that. He doesn't care about that. He's looking at me like, "Yo, you're freaking crazy. I'm giving you an easy out. Give me the $50 and you don't have to lose 100. Bro, I'm so confident in that 100, man. And Driver was just talking about it. Like, I really think next year is going to be our year. And the bet wasn't that we win the Super Bowl, is that we make it to the Super Bowl. I think we got a shot. I think that the Saints can do it this year. This will be Drew Brees last year. He'll retire on top. He's gone. We don't got to worry about him. I'm not worried about the Panthers. I'm not worried about the Eagles or anybody in the NFC East. I'm not worried about anybody in our division except the Rams. And we don't got to beat the Rams. We can let somebody else do that in the playoffs. We good. All we got to do is make it to the freaking Super Bowl. And I get $100, guys. So now you guys all know about my embarrassing bet that I made. All right. Let's go ahead and get back to the talk. I'm sorry, man.
Embarrassing isn't the word.
You wouldn't have made the bet going into this season. You wouldn't have made the bet before any games were played. This was before we lost Jerick McKinnon, all of that stuff.
I said even this year that we were going to be close to making the playoffs. Next year, I would have us making the playoffs the following year. So I don't call Super Bowl yet. Can it happen? Absolutely. I mean, it can happen with any team. So, I mean, $100 to take that chance is, I don't know. I wouldn't have paid him the 50. I would have kept the bet.
I kept the bet. I didn't give him the 50.
That's what I'm saying. if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't have paid the 50. I would have just kept the bet.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not betting that this team's going to go to make it to the Super Bowl. There's just a lot of things to overcome. I mean, it's really going to be Jimmy Garoppolo's first year in the system. It's not going to be a second year like you were thinking. You know what I mean? Jerick McKinnon is going to be different. We could not have Joe Staley. I mean, there could just be a ton of things that are different next year.
If Staley finishes this season, he's coming back next year. That's what. But see, I was looking at us making a push this year and that encouraging Staley for one more year. Now that changes stuff up. Staley might look at the end of this year and be like, "Fuck this, I'm out." I don't know how he's going to look at it this year, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, it's. I mean, like I said, it's doable. I mean, anything's doable, but maybe we should just bring this guy back. Maybe we should just bring him back. Since I could jump on the fan bandwagon and say, who we could bring back. But no, man, I think I really think that.
Nick, I got a better one for you. How about we bring this place back?
Oh, I know. That's crazy, man.
This place is haunting that team.
Yeah, you hear that from all the fans all over, man.
I went to the Arizona game. That's all the people that sat around me said.
Yeah, but you know what, though, man? That place was a shithole. It was fun with the atmosphere and, you get the chills walking in, but that place was truly a shithole.
Mm-hmm.
It was truly a shithole.
I was never there for a Niner game. I was there for a Giant game, but I don't know. This stadium doesn't do it for me. I mean, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but it just doesn't feel.
It was just. It was literally just a shithole. But like I said, I got goosebumps every time I walked in there.
Exactly. You don't get that walking into Levi.
Yeah, you don't get that. I mean, the atmosphere was totally different. You have a lot more higher end class people attending Levi. Obviously, tickets are way more. But I mean, the stick was great. It was just really a shithole, but it was fun. It was the stick, So. But Tony, what's your? I've been calling for Mullins, so I want to hear your take on the Mullins steak. I've been calling for Mullins for 2 weeks.
We're 1-6. What the hell's the difference?
And that's what I keep trying to tell all these fans is what do we have to lose? Everybody's saying, "Oh, well, why win games now?" You know what I mean? Well, what do we have to lose now? Kyle Shanahan's not getting fired this year. I don't give a shit what Grant Cohn says. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Kyle Shanahan's not getting fired this year.
I don't understand how people could even say that.
This was a 6-year contract. 6-year contract, and they said it's going to – even when they got hired, this isn't going to happen in next year or the year after. It's going to take some time. Come on. I mean, especially I could see if this team wasn't injured and we didn't lose our starting quarterback or we had Jimmy Garoppolo on the field, Jerick McKinnon, and we were still 1-6 or 1-7, I could see a chance. But when you have a decimated roster and you're playing third-string safeties, I can't see your head coach getting fired.
No. I feel horrible for him. I really do.
Man, he looked like a sad puppy dog, man.
It's sad. The poor guy. And everyone, you hear the media, "Oh, he doesn't know how to win games." Bullshit.
It's not that he doesn't know how to win games. The problem is that I've been saying this to Mike for the entire season, is it's lack of execution. I mean, most of these games we're losing ourselves. And Mike, I kind of disagree with you that the defense played the best game in Minnesota. I think the game in Green Bay was really good too.
The defense played all 4 quarters, consistent football in that game in Minnesota. That's why I say that was the best game. It was the most complete game.
Yeah, but they did as well in Green Bay.
No, they didn't. They didn't play the last drive or two. They didn't show up the whole last 2 drives. That didn't happen in Minnesota.
No, it's not that they didn't show up. It's just Devontae Adams just ate them alive.
You can blame one player if you want. The defense led up 2 scoring drives on the final 2 drives of that game. That didn't happen in Minnesota. They were a complete game. If it weren't for that pick 6, we'd have been all right.
Yeah, true.
You'd have been all right. That defense only allowed 17 points in that first game against a pretty good offense, by the way. Like that's why I say that was to me, in my opinion, their best game. All 4 quarters, that defense was rocking. They were going toe to toe with the biggest, baddest bully in the NFC at the time, and
still missed a ton of tackles.
Yeah, but they held their own though. That was the missed tackles weren't even that big of a deal in week 1. It just snowballed out of control from that point on. It was crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. Is anybody else calling in?
I don't have anything, guys. 628-888-3443. If you guys want to call in, we're gonna give you guys a couple more minutes to do this. If not, we're gonna get up out of here. I'm trying to.
I want Coach Tim to call in. I really want to talk to him. Like I like a lot of his takes.
He's always writing out the long comments and everything.
Yeah.
He's well thought out. Yeah, it would be interesting to pick his mind.
I agree with him. Like we have to get him on a show one time if he can't call in now. But I don't agree with all of his takes, but I mean they're football minded and they're good. They're good things to debate. So, Coach, if you can call in, I'd really like to talk to you. So,
hey Mike, when Ryder called in, was he talking about the offensive scheme or the defensive scheme?
Roger, one guy called in and said something about the defensive scheme not having the right personnel.
No, Ryder. When Ryder just called, the last guy, his name was Ryder.
Driver.
Oh, Driver.
Yeah.
Was he talking about the offense or the defensive side of the ball?
Well, he kind of talked about both, but then he went on the tangent about Beathard and not getting rid of the ball and things like that, and just not having it.
Coach Tim said he tried to call, but he can't because he's in Canada.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, there's a call coming in. All right, here we go. Hello.
Hello. Yo, what's up?
Hey, who we speaking with?
You're speaking with Ronnie from the Bay.
Ronnie from the Bay. Oh, a Bay Area native. This is what I've been waiting for right here. This is what I've been waiting for right here.
Yeah.
Before you get to why you're calling. Wait.
First of all, I want to say hello to you guys and great things that you guys are doing for the Niners. Faithful. It's real love, man. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. We really appreciate that. We really do. Now wait.
Yeah. So
man, wait. Can I ask you a question before you get started on the team? Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
How much did this game, the 49ers versus the Raiders, in the last Battle of the Bay, does this game mean anything special to you in particular?
To me, it doesn't. You know what I mean? Because I get to see two boo-hoo ass teams play. You know what I mean? Let's face it, they both 1-7. They both stink. You know what I mean? No matter how we slice the cake, I think though, but I think a lot of my friends and my family members are Raider fans. Yes, my brother's a Raider fan. My dad was a Raider fan, but I'm Niner all the way. But yeah, we're gonna have a little barbecue thing, on Thursday. Chill around with the family and watch some Niners and Raiders. I'm gonna be the only Niner there though.
Well, you gotta represent. You gotta hold us down.
We're gonna represent.
Absolutely. All right, go ahead. Get to the get down, baby. I'm sorry. I just want to ask you that.
So man, I think what the problem is with the Niners, man, is first of all, we all gotta realize that with Kyle Shanahan and your boy Lynch, they got 5 years for a reason, man. You know what I mean? It's gonna take a while for these guys to get this thing right. We need a lot of things. We can start on the offensive side. We need a receiver. Us signing Pierre Garçon was a waste. We should have never signed that dude. That dude is old. He's a bust. We need another running back. I don't think Jared McKinnon is, cuts it. He was like the third running back on Minnesota's squad. And I think we could use another receiver. You know what I mean? Believe it or not, we need two. I think your boy Dante Pettis is soft. You know what I mean? If you ask me, the defensive side of it,
Richard Sherman is good, but he's up there in age, we need another corner on the other side. I've been saying it for the years. We should have never let Eric Reed go. I think Eric Reed was a a good safety. Sorry if I'm bouncing everywhere. I don't want to be too long.
No. You go ahead. You got it. Go ahead.
Eric Reed was a good safety. He played. Different positions for us. That that's the help. I think the guys that we have now are just role players at best. Kyle Shanahan and these guys. They've been going in these drafts and they have not been hitting. We all know that. I agree with, I think it was you, Mike, that said, signing your boy Solomon Thomas was just a bad idea at that position. I think we could have went, elsewhere. We could have, addressed the defensive end when we've been needing since before Alden Smith got there. Because Alden Smith was only good because of Justin Smith.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So we need a lot of stuff, man. But we got to be patient. With it, and we got to realize that. With this team going forward, I'm with you, Mike, man. I don't see the Niners winning the game.
Yeah, it hurts to say something like that, but you have to accept reality. Good teams find ways to win. Okay teams will muddle around the middle. Bad teams find ways to lose. And it seems to me, like week after week, the Niners are inventing new ways to lose football games. I've never seen a team like we dominated.
Oh, yeah.
In 2 games, we dominated the Cardinals in 2 different ways. The first game, in every category, time of possession, first downs, third down conversion rates, yards, everything. We dominated everything except turnovers. In this game, we had the turnovers and we had the lead for 90% of the game. Well, we still found a way to lose it. It's heartbreaking. And that it seems like that's what bad teams do. But I think when it's all said and done, I think that when the offseason gets here, no matter what our record is, I don't care if it's 1-15. I think when the offseason gets here, we're all going to reflect and we're going to say, you know what? We had a lot of injuries. And at some point, our luck has got to change with this injury bug. It's got to. And I think that the 49er fan base is going to get rejuvenated. I think that we're going to get hyped. Jimmy G is coming back. McKinnon's coming back. Whoever our number 1 overall pick is going to be, whatever the case is, I think the fan base is going to be like, you know what? We're back. We're going to be here. We're going to be ready to talk trash again. And that's what we're needing to happen right now. That's what we need to happen right now. And so once that happens,
I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that all the way, man. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, injury does play a big part of the game. It really does. I ain't gonna keep you guys too much longer, but the other day I ran into Patrick Willis. It's so funny because me and Patrick, we have the same barber in San Jose where we go to. So I ran into Patrick Willis and I said, Patrick Willis, what's going on with the Niners, man? What's your perspective on it? You know what I mean? And he said, honestly, he goes, I don't even watch football no more. And I said, why? He said it's because the way that they're changing up the rules and the way they, gotten these guys get soft, man. I don't really watch it. You know what I mean? I was just like, wow. So I thought I would just something I just share with you guys. You know what I mean? Off the blue. Sorry if I went on, but yeah, Mike, I agree with you. Everything. Injuries is part of the big thing, and hopefully we can all come back. You know what I mean? And our guys will be healthy. But I think we do need to make some big changes. I think we need to cut, Pierre Garçon. You know what I mean? I think we need to, it's almost like they got to go back to year 1 and do it all over again. You see what I'm saying? Because their first 2 draft class, a lot of those guys have been busts. You know what I'm saying, Mike? And I remember watching one of the shows previous when you said that, and you were absolutely right. You hit the nail right on the coffin. They're not hitting in the draft. And unfortunately, if you do want to have, success, and you do want to be one of those teams that were good like the Seattle, it starts in the draft. You know what I'm saying? You have to go get those late rounds, and we haven't been hitting on them. And to get Solomon Thomas at that position, I just thought wasn't a good idea. So again, thank you, gentlemen. I won't hold you guys up any much longer. Like I said, we love what you guys do here. You know what I mean? Niner faithful all day. You know what I mean? They ain't gonna stop. You know, you gentlemen have a good evening.
All right, you too, man. Thanks for the support. We truly appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Yep.
Mike, so we couldn't get the Mr. Canada to call in, so I had to bring him in on the video. So, Coach Tim, what's going on, man? How's everything going? You might have to unmute yourself because I muted you when you first came in. There you go. Oh, no sound. Check your just go up and check your cog up there and see if your settings are on.
So, guys, this is Coach Tim that Nick and I were talking about, who always leaves very well thought out comments and all. And it's always good to hear someone's perspective. It's amazing because when I read messages, I put a tone to them, no matter what. I don't know the person, but I put a voice to everyone's name and their comments all the time. And I can't wait to hear what Coach Tim sounds like, because I know it's never what I expected to be when I finally hear someone's voice. So I can't wait to hear what this is like, and his tone, his inflection, things like that. I'm excited to hear. I'm a little giddy right now, so that's cool.
He's all giddy. He's like, shit, what am I doing here? If you click your mouse on the screen and see if your settings thing comes up at the top of the screen, and then click the cog, and then make sure it's on your default or your headphones or whatever you have plugged in for your microphone use.
There it is. Here.
Got me?
Yep.
All right. Okay. There we go. So you want to hear my real voice, huh?
That's awesome.
So,
Coach, yeah. give us a breakdown. You've been listening to the show. You've been watching the show. What are your feelings right now? What you agree on, what you don't agree on? Just give us a quick synopsis of how you feel about this team going forward and what you expect, going forward.
Okay. Well, I'm probably more optimistic than I should be, but it's only because I've been through this before. Back in Bill Walsh's day, living in the San Francisco Bay Area when 49ers hired him and started putting together the championship team that would run through the 80s and 90s. I saw the same exact kind of things. I mean, almost to the letter. I mean, we had a young team. He was slowly getting rid of the veteran presence out there. By 1980, I think he was almost the average age on the team, I think, was very close to what it is here now, which was about 24, 25. About a year older probably then, but still very young team. Nobody was a proven winner. Then in 1981, they had that super draft with the rookie secondary, and Dwight Hicks out there to kind of solidify that. That's what we need. I see on this team. We need veteran leadership. Now Sherman's there at corner, but he really isn't a safety. He's a corner, so it's a little hard for him to see what everybody's doing. He doesn't get his input, I think, until practice or film work later after the game. So I don't know if that's as effective as if he were out there at free safety directing people like Hicks was back in the day. But he's doing what he can, I'm sure. But at the same time, I mean, look at our players at corner were young, safety were young, linebacker were young, defensive line were young. None of these guys have been winners before. The only exception, of course, is Smith and Sherman on defense. We also are lacking talent there. We still need edge rushers. I mean, I've been saying this for weeks that we have to get back to. We have to get veterans, though. I mean, a lot of guys want to draft Bosa, and I understand that. He's a fantastic player, but he's a rookie. He's not proven. We don't even know if he's going to stay healthy. So there's a lot of unknowns with that. I would like to bring in a great veteran presence, and then maybe draft Bosa if we're high enough. That would be great. We have 2 edge rushers, guys coming off the edge hard every play. That would really suit our defense very well, and that's the scheme. The scheme has to have rushers. You got to have them. Inside, I mean, we can rotate. We got Buckner inside. I mean, imagine what would happen if you had 2 good rushers on the outside and Buckner one-on-one on the inside. I mean, we're going to tear it up. Really do think that. It's just my opinion.
You could even add Solomon Thomas in there as single coverage.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it would make a world of a difference.
And that's where he belongs, like everyone's been saying. I mean, that's really where he belongs, is inside. Right. But they've had to play him. This is the point I wanted to make. They've had to play him outside because who do they have out there? I mean, until Blair kind of stepped up, they really didn't have another guy. So I understand Salah's thinking and putting him at end because he's a lot quicker. And the only problem with him, though, is he doesn't honor his BCR responsibility. BCR is boot counter reverse. You got to honor that when you're a defensive end. You can't get away from that. If you're going to rush hard on the edge, you've got to have somebody coming around to contain. That's the only problem I see with his game at end.
Yeah, because I mean, your job as a defensive end isn't really sacking the quarterback. It's pushing everything back inside. It's outside containment, pushing everything back inside. And if you can get a rush with people on the outside of you, that's when you take that rush. But Solomon, for some reason, just bit so much on the run, and he would let things get outside of him with that containment. And I used to have arguments with Mike on here all the time. I'm like, well, technically he's doing his job. His job isn't really to get all those sacks. He's supposed to push everything back in, upfield containment, such and such. But let me ask you, I had a question, but I'm going to let you finish, and then I'll ask you that question.
Okay. So, I mean, I've been looking at free agent defensive ends, pass rush guys. Brandon Graham is going to be available. Outstanding rusher, plays the run really well at end. Frank Clark, another one. Now, Frank Clark is used a little differently in Seattle than he would be by us. In Seattle, he's more of a decoy, believe it or not. And I've seen some film work on him that actually proves that. But get somebody like that on the edge, and then maybe bring in a rookie, Bosa, and instant pass rush, instant pressure. And then we got a rotation. We got some young guys coming up. I mean, I like Eric Armstead, but let's face it, the guy's too slow. He's playing D tackle. He's good inside, but he's not great, and he's too slow to put outside. But I like Julian Taylor. Taylor is quick. He gets penetration. I can't wait to see Street because looking at his college film, the guy was a beast. I mean, he was like Buckner in college. I mean, that's what he really looks like. He just dominates people. So I think he's not as fast as you'd like for a guy. So he's going to probably play inside. So think about our rotation there. It's going to be probably one of the best in the NFL, I think. Street and Taylor inside. Street might play a little bit outside on the rundowns. But I don't think Street's going to be used as much as a pass rusher. I think he'll be more of a run guy. And Taylor with his penetration. And then you got Solomon Thomas. I mean, geez. we're going to have a great rotation on D-line next year. I really, really think so. On the offensive side, I really think we do need another wide receiver. We need a veteran guy. I've been thinking, Lynch has a great relationship with John Elway. So why don't they sit down and I don't know, tomorrow's the deadline, I guess. So, or today was. I think it's tomorrow, right? But sit down, they can hammer out a deal. And we could bring over 2 guys they're trying to move. Chris Harris, the corner, and Demetrius Thomas, the wide receiver.
Deadline was today.
Was it today?
Yeah, and Thomas went to oh shit, who did he go to?
He got traded.
Yeah, he got traded to Shit, who was it?
Texans.
Texans.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody had the right idea. But okay, so I'm still thinking Chris Harris would be a good deal, even off season. He's a veteran presence at corner. Akello could sit behind Sherman because eventually that's where he's going to be anyway. But I think Akello could play though with a good edge rush, so I'm not too worried about that either. And then the other guys on offense. I mean, there's a receiver. Well, Golden Tate's going to be a free agent if he doesn't get released or traded. I don't know if he did or not. I haven't seen the wire today. That's why I don't know what's going on. But I kept thinking tomorrow for some reason was the deadline.
Tate got traded.
Golden
Tate got traded as well.
Okay, so never mind that.
Yeah,
Tate went to the Eagles.
Tate went to Philly.
Okay. The other guy, believe it or not, who I think is going to be available. People aren't saying this right now, but he did in the off season. He did express some desire to leave the situation where he's at, and that's Julio Jones. Julio Jones would be an out of this league pickup for us if we could get him somehow. I don't know that we have the trade collateral to make with Atlanta on that one though, because, and I'm not worried about his contract. We got the cap room for it.
What would you give Julio Jones to come here?
Well, he's got to get a number one for sure. And that's what I mean about signing two veteran edge rushers. I mean, I actually have a plan in my mind, but I'm not the GM. So, but if I were the GM, I would make a deal for Julio, and I would go after two edge rushers. I'd use Sherman's influence to get Frank Clark here, and then I would try to bring in a guy like Brandon Graham, or I know Clowney's probably going to get franchise. There are rumors about that. And then beyond that, I mean, I don't know what. D Ford is there, Kansas City DM. He just doesn't play the run real well, though. I don't like his run defense.
Mike,
he's just more of a. I'm going after like.
Yeah, Mike, who were we talking about earlier in the room? Was it
I was talking about Fowler, but he ended up going to the Rams.
No, signing in the offseason. Cameron Wake. Yeah.
Oh, Wake, yeah. Yeah, Wake is the problem with him the last couple of years. He's been steady when he's healthy, but he just hasn't stayed healthy. So I'm a little concerned about him at his age. Because I think he's 34, 35.
Yeah,
he could be a guy like Fred. Yeah, I mean, you could use him like we used to use Fred Dean. Remember when they bring Dean in? If you guys ever watched him play? They brought him in. He was farther along in his career. He only played 3-4 years with us, and then retired. But he had a great 4 years just as a pure edge rusher. I mean, they put him in the elephant, and he just rushed. And that's, of course, the position that eventually became Charles Haley's. But if Wake could do that and stay healthy and do that on short notice, yeah, I mean, that would definitely be an option as well. I like his technique and everything on the outside. Very good. But then, offensively, I mean, again, we need that receiver. We got to get a guy that just, Goodwin scares defenses, and it's true that when he's in there, the defense has got to honor him. They got to honor the deep game. Secondly, our run game, I think, is going to be better, but there is going to be a free agent that knows Shanahan's scheme, and his name is Tevin Coleman. He's going to be available next year. I think he would be a great third back to bring in. I think Alfred Morris is going to be done with us. And Coleman is an outstanding receiver, too. So that gives us three great backs. I mean, Breida, McKinnon, if he's healthy, and Tevin Coleman. And if McKinnon can't go, we still got Coleman and Breida. So we'd still be in great position, I think. And that's pretty much it. I mean,
let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you were talking about leadership, bringing in leaders, it's so damn sad that we had a leader here because you said a linebacker, we're young as shit. We have no leadership. And that's what makes me so angry about Navarro Bowman. Like, it makes me so angry that like from the minute we drafted Reuben Foster, his whole demeanor changed. The way that he was doing press conferences, the way that he was like, I'm better than everybody here.
Right.
Type of talks. And, fans don't realize that. Like, they talk all the time like, oh, we should have never got rid of Bowman. We know we should have never did this. Well, like, he wanted out of here. Like, that's not a leader. Like, he would have helped Reuben Foster and Fred Warner so much. And Navarro Bowman always just had that. And let's not get this wrong. Patrick Willis made Navarro Bowman who he was.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's no, you can't, if anybody wants to argue with me on that, then I don't know what to tell them. But Navarro Bowman wouldn't have been what he was without Patrick Willis all those years.
True.
And Patrick Willis stepped up and took him under his wing. And then when it came down to Navarro Bowman teaching somebody else, he was just like, when they asked him about snaps, and he's like, I don't care. I'm the best linebacker out here. I'm not going to come off the field, blah, blah, blah. And then when he started getting benched for, for certain plays and certain things like that, he went and cried. And, we all make these funny comments about Derek Carr crying or whatever, getting hit. But Navarro Bowman was basically doing the same shit in press conferences. Basically saying, like, crying that he wasn't getting playing time. And, it's just so sad as a Niner fan. And that's why I have no respect for Navarro Bowman anymore, no matter what he's done here in a Niners uniform. Because if you were a true Niner and a true leader, you would have took a Reuben Foster or a Fred Warner or those players under your wing and taught them the position and taught them how to be leaders. Instead, you bailed out and you were like, oh, I always wanted to be in Oakland anyway. So it's just sad because we had that leader in that role and he just basically bailed on us.
Yeah, that's what, when everybody talks about the locker room and how good it is, Shanahan has been the architect of that. And he has emphasized from day one how important it was for those guys to be unified and pull for each other and play for each other. And it'll get to the point like Bill Walsh used to do, where Shanahan will take the next step, and I believe it's going to be this offseason. He's going to do this. He's already showed hints of it already. But he's going to start pitting these guys against him, against himself. And he's going to start being the bad guy. And maybe this release is a good sign that it's going that way. But Maben and Bolden being ejected or got rid of. I think what happened with Bowman was everybody, there are some people that are just diehard fans of his. I was a diehard fan of his, but I also know football enough as being an ex-coach that when a guy starts talking that way in a locker room, you got issues. That's like you said, it's a leadership problem, not a solution. So yeah, Kyle had to get rid of him. He had no choice. So you got to get the cancers out of there. Believe it or not, Eric Reed was a pretty good leader, but he had some downside to him as well, and it showed up outside of the game mostly, but not the politics. But I'm talking about just some of the things that he would say, and there were little hints in there, like when he moved positions, he kind of showed, I'm really not into this, but I'll do it. That was kind of his attitude, and I think that came back to bite him too. So it's really, chemistry is way underrated. It really is, because when I had 2 championship teams when I coached in semi-pro, and both of them, the chemistry was just unheard of in our league. And those guys fed off each other like you wouldn't believe. It was just, you'd sit on the sideline sometimes and just go, man, these guys don't even need coaches. We'll just step back and let them go. It was like that sometimes, But then, you let things kind of come back to earth and realize, oh, wait, I got to put a scheme in here, and I got to get these guys some plays here. But they, get the guys, they set the tone, and you let the leaders lead. And that's why I say we got to bring some veterans in here with leadership ability, because you got a lot of youth in there. But when it comes time to be accountable and to take responsibility for things, in the pressers, the guys all say the right things. Kittle is right out front. He's saying the right things. But at the same time, there's no veteran leader in there that's saying, coaches, we're going to handle this here. Let's have some time together, as a team, and we're going to yell and scream and let guys know that, hey, this is not acceptable.
Well, there was the one time
that
Sherman. There was the one time that Sherman had their own meeting with the team. This year, and he said the coaches weren't in there. They just laid into each other about what was going on. So there's signs of it there.
Yeah, that's what they need. I mean, they got that kind of thing is going to. Now the injuries are still going to affect them. I mean, you can't have your safeties both go down, and you get a guy that's been practicing a corner all year, and put him in at safety and expect him to, do well. It's just not going to happen. So I think when that happens, I mean, what can you do? Change it up, go to a cover 2, maybe give him some help somehow. I don't know if they're prepared to do that or not on the fly like that, but if I was a coordinator, that's what I'd do. I think I would have guys prepared for all the contingencies. I mean, that's what was so great about Bill Walsh, is he was ready for any contingency, and he prepared his coaching staff the same way. And I was there at his practices. I saw it firsthand. And when they were down at Red Morton Park in Redwood City, I was there. I was one of the guys that was cutting holes in the fence because they had this green vinyl thing over the fence, right? And one time I did it, and I ended up right behind the secondary, right behind Ronnie Lott, Carlton Williams, and Eric Wright and Dwight Hicks. They were sitting on one knee right in front of me. And I was yapping back and forth with them, and they were laughing it up with me. And I was a little younger then, so I was a little bit more spunky probably, but they actually caught me. And when Ronnie Lott was walking out, he kind of looked over and smiled, and he goes, "Oh, you're the guy that's been putting the holes in our fence, huh?"
That is awesome. That is awesome.
And I met him. I met a lot of the 49ers back then because I'd see him in the mall at Hillsdale Mall or somewhere else, And I actually went to school in 2001 for this OICW, it was called back then. Bill Walsh sat on the board. And a lot of the 49ers were involved with it as well. And it was kind of like a low-income family, husband or wife situation where I was a single father. And they put you through a program. And then Walsh, they would do a little thing called Breakfast of Champions. And you can still look this up on YouTube, too. You'll see it. The year that I got to work the Breakfast of Champions, Bill Walsh was not there because his son was hospitalized with leukemia. So I missed meeting him. That's the only chance I got to meet him. But I met Ronnie Lott. I met Steve Mariucci. I got a picture with Mariucci on my Facebook page. We were there at that event, and I weighed about 260 pounds then. I've lost about 50 pounds now. But that was a good time. I mean, I met a lot of those guys. Jerry Rice, that guy had the biggest hands. I mean, my God, when he shook my hand, his fingers went halfway up my forearm, I swear to God. And I don't have like really small hands. I mean, I'm just average. But that was interesting. I met him at Hillsdale Mall. Ronnie Lott, Carlton. Let's see who else. I didn't meet Carlton. I met Dwight Hicks. I met Eric Wright. Fred Wershing, I met him 3 times. I met him having pizza in Foster City one time. I went to a pizza joint with my kids. My kids had no idea who he was. I looked over at him. I kind of looked at him, and he looked up at me and smiled. He knew I recognized him. I walked on over, and he was with a girl. And I said, "Hey, I don't want to interrupt your meal or anything. I just want to say you rock it. You're a great kicker. I really like your work, and hope someday you get you do from the league and everything." And he was real friendly, real polite. It was great. I met George Seifert. I met oh God, who was the other coach? Well, Bob McKittrick used to come to our practices because at that time we had the biggest line in our entire league, actually in the entire state of California. And our offensive line was like, he would come to look at them, and he actually got 2 tryouts out of them. He had 2 guys try out for the 49ers, and then one of them tried out for the Raiders as well. That was pretty cool. But anyway, long story short, those guys, though, Walsh, he had all guys coordinator first couple of years. Then Seifert took over. They had those guys prepared. and they had every contingency covered. So when guys went down, somebody stepped right in. That saying, next man up, it really comes from their era. That's where that comes from. And they practiced that, and they worked that to just another level. It was just unreal.
I think that this current staff really wants to implement that kind of mentality. I think that they really want to have that next man up mentality. But the problem is that there's so many of the next men. And in one game, we went from Tart to Exum to Powell.
Yeah.
And this is not the first time that we've run through 3 guys at one position in one game. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just not the first time. I mean, we were looking at a game where Morris was the only healthy back at one time this year. We went through Breida and Mostert. It's just stuff like that keeps happening with this team. And people keep saying it's not the strength and conditioning staff. It's just football. It's just football. This is an astronomical rate of how we're losing players. Something's got to be done. And next man up sounds good. It looks good. It even feels good. There's a lot of players who are back there. I'm this close to getting in there. And when I get my chance, I'm gonna let them know. The
Nick
problem
Mullins
is that
this weekend, baby.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the problem with that, right? So Nick, you're playing behind Jerry Rice, and you're like, man, as soon as Jerry slows down a little bit, or as soon as I get my chance, I'm gonna get in there. And now I'm playing behind you, and I'm like, man, I'm nowhere near getting in, right? But in the same game, Jerry goes down and you're up, and I'm like, oh man, I should have probably paid a little bit more attention in practice. And then you go down 3 plays later, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like next man up sounds good. It sounds good, and it feels good until you're way down the line, and you're like, I'm in here. What am I doing here? And so it's just, oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just a little different. It's weird. And, and like I said, I believe in this staff. I really do. In the offense, the defense, I believe in what their schemes are. I believe in the methods and the messages that they're delivering to these guys. But like you said at the very beginning of all this, the personnel, it's gotta come together. We've got to get certain positions in position to be successful, and we just don't quite have them yet.
Yeah, Bill Walsh used to say he had a saying, and most of the time it was in-house, but he would say, preparation precedes performance. And what that meant was, if you're better prepared when called upon, you'll perform. And all of his backups back in those days, and if you watch them when they came in, even the quarterbacks, they were well prepared. And they came in and took right over. Montana went down with injuries. The backup guy came in. He would throw 3 touchdowns. I mean, it was great depth back then. Unfortunately, now with the salary cap and all that stuff going on, and shortened the CBA agreement, they don't allow them to practice as much, and they don't allow them to obviously have as many players for depth on the team. So that does drop down your talent a little bit, and it also cuts into the preparation as well. So that probably has an effect on it as well. I wouldn't say it's major, but that's part of it. The conditioning, like you said, I think their conditioning time is shortened as well. And there's not just, I looked at some of the rosters because I was just curious, is this just happening to us, or are we snake bit or something? And I went through a few of the teams, and they had a lot of guys on IR. So I think it's going around the league.
Philadelphia is one of them. They have a lot of injuries too.
Yeah. So, I kind of get sometimes when people, like, I'll be sitting in on a Rombo show and listening to that or watching, and a lot of guys will say stuff, the fans, and I know they're upset and everything, and I understand that. But it makes me upset when people start talking about fire the coach, that's not the answer. You can't do that. You know what happens to the continuity of the team when you let a coach go, especially a coordinator? It goes out the window for that year. It's gone, and it may not recover the next year. So, what happened when Harbaugh was gone? Look at what happened to the continuity of the team, and then injuries as well. But guys retiring and all that. But they didn't have the depth. They didn't have the, I don't know if you want to call it will to win or what it was, but they just, and then Singletary got in there. What did he do? I mean, he was the old guard, the tough kind of,
Started trouble.
Yeah, give me your blood and sweat, I want players who can play, who want to win, Well, everybody wants to win.
I think something you said earlier about the players needing a veteran presence, I think that also applies to this coaching staff. This is a really young coaching staff. Tony, I see you agreeing. I want you to chime in, man, because you've been kind of quiet over there. But feed off of what I'm saying, because this coaching staff is super young, very inexperienced. I think they could stand to see a veteran presence there.
I agree 100%, Mike, on both sides. Both sides of the ball. And Coach, this is the first time I ever was talking with you. I like the way you think, and I like your theories.
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
They make a lot of sense.
Experience, being around the game and being around professional football a little bit. I wasn't inside, but I was out close enough to it where I could hear and listen and learn things. And I paid my attention to the real guys that were commenting on from the media and stuff. These guys that got like Grant Cohn and them. I mean, I don't even give that guy the time of day. I mean, he's just
it's
I'm sorry, but
horrible.
Yeah, I mean, and his dad wasn't much different. Let me tell you, his dad was.
They cover the team, but all they do is knock them.
Yeah, and the press don't ask the right questions. They're not asking the right questions.
Mike, there it is. That's what we say. That's what myself and Mike say all the time.
I would have been like, okay, Kyle, you know that your quarterback got some pocket issues, okay, mentally. So he's not sliding. He's not able to get, he's not aware. You got a blitz coming off the edge, and the guy doesn't even look over there. Okay, he's looking left. He did the same thing against San Diego, where he looked right and he ignored the guy on the left. So the guy's got to be sitting there with his head on a swivel, because these guys aren't running routes yet, so he shouldn't be looking downfield. He should be looking right there. And then you got an audible. What's your audible? I mean, if I'm a press guy, I'm going to say, don't you have an audible in that situation? And then let the coach answer. They do, I'm sure. But I think what it comes down to is CJ probably got stuck on a play. He is a young quarterback, and I understand that's going to happen. And he, does he have a hot? Is there a hot release? Ask the coach. I mean, I don't see the media asking those questions because they're not football savvy either. And you got to have that. I mean, some cities, the reporters know a lot about the game, and you can tell in the questions they ask. So I'd like to see more of that from our media. But if I was there, that's what I would say to them. And then you were talking about. I lost my train of thought now.
I don't think
about adding somebody.
Huh?
About adding somebody.
Oh, the veteran coach. Yeah, veteran coach.
Do you think Kyle should bring somebody in on the offensive side of the ball, not as a play caller, but as a second set of eyes in the booth?
Yeah, you could bring this is what I would do if I was him. But it's got to be somebody that he trusts, right? It's got to be someone he trusts that knows a little bit about his team or the West Coast. So I would bring a guy in as a consultant maybe to work in the booth and tell him what he's seeing up there on the field. If Kyle's not seeing it all. But I don't know if that's the problem, though. I know special teams right now, I'll tell you that's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, our special teams, we are just not special. I mean, our guys we are not doing anything on special teams. And that is coaching.
I was just asking Mike this last week. Like, what is going on with our special teams? Like, where is Richie James? Really, where's Dante Pettis? These guys that we brought in for the draft for this year, mostly to play special teams, obviously because of injuries and stuff. They're playing in wide receiver positions for this year, but our special teams has been oblivious. It's just been, we barely take anything out. If we do, we're getting 12 or 13 yards, but, what do you think? I was going to ask you something, and I can't remember exactly what it was. So,
I like the veteran coach, though, that he was talking about, though, too. I think, was it Eddie?
Tony.
Tony. I'm sorry, Tony.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm bad with names sometimes.
That's all right.
I could remember some of my players' names. I just called them by number. But anyway, yeah, that's a great idea. I think bringing in some kind of a guy, eye in the sky, consultant type, or even a practice guy. Come into practice, say, "This is what I'm seeing." I mean, his dad, Mike Shanahan, be great for that.
That's what I thought he was going to originally do.
Yeah.
But it kind of seems like he wants to be on his own. He doesn't want to be in his father's shadow. But, I mean, I think an extra set of eyes in the booth would help on the offensive side. On the defensive side, I think they definitely need help.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was just going to say we got really good linebacker coaches. I think our linebacker coaches are good. The pass rush coach, I mean, Kiffin. I mean, he don't have the bodies. I mean, let's face it. I mean, if the guy had some better talent, maybe on the edge, they might have a pass rush. Maybe like you guys were talking about Peta earlier. I think they do need to take a look at him, and see, look, what does this guy bring to the table? Let's see if he can come off, put him and Marsh out there and see what you get,
I want to touch on this comment real quick because I want to say something, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this too. Jesse De La Cruz says, "What happened with Kyle Shanahan? We thought we had gold, but looks like fool's gold. Don't understand some play calls. Maybe he can't be a coordinator and coach at the same time." Me personally, I'll start it off. I disagree with that fool's gold thing because Kyle Shanahan is still getting receivers open. His play design and calls are still getting receivers open. They showed 3 times on the 3 sacks that Beathard took last week. There was 2 crossing receivers that were wide open. And instead of getting rid of the ball, C.J. Beathard held it and looked right up at the blitz coming and took the sack instead.
Yeah.
The second play, he had a receiver open on the right-hand side and a receiver coming across the middle on a slant, wide open. Instead of getting rid of the ball, he saw the pressure coming, basically just tucked down and took the sack. The third time, same exact thing on the same sack. Had 3 guys wide open. And the problem is I think he just doesn't go through his progressions fast enough. I think he stays pinned on his first progression, and we've seen this with Colin Kaepernick. Not that Cap wasn't going through his progressions, but he was going through them slowly, and you would pin, or Cap did a lot knowing exactly where he was going with the football right away, no matter what anyway.
Well, he had a one read. His was a one read.
It was
he was
one read quarterback. So
I'm pretty sure I think Harbaugh split the field in half with him. If he didn't have a high or a low, he took off.
Right. So Jimmy,
it was a one read and then go. Yeah.
Yeah. You could tell Jimmy Garoppolo how fast he's going through his progressions, the way he moves and hops in the pocket. CJ Beathard's like Garoppolo's already looking at his first read before he's 2 steps on his drop.
Yeah.
Where CJ Beathard doesn't start looking at his progression until he's sat in the pocket.
Yeah, that's all mental.
Yeah, and it's all in his mind. Like he should be like, okay, X is my number 1 read, Z is my 2 read, Y is my 3 read, however you want to do it. But instead, he's coming out of getting the snap, not looking up. He literally looking down still, taking his drop, 3 or 5 step drop, and then once he's in his drop, then he starts to survey the field, and pressure's already there.
He waits till he gets to the top of the drop.
Exactly. So I don't know if you guys have anything else to touch on that, but I wanted to hit that comment because I don't believe it's Kyle Shanahan. I think we are running the same type of offense with C.J. Beathard as we were Jimmy Garoppolo, and I'll put money on it this weekend that we see a difference in reads with Nick Mullins compared to what we're seeing with C.J. Beathard, just in reads, just looking from the snap to the drop, to the top of the drop. You'll see different reads and the way that you get the ball out faster. And that's why, Jimmy, you heard Kyle Shanahan say it 2 weeks ago. He says a little bit of it's on Marquise Goodwin for the interception and a little bit of it's on CJ. Yeah. Goodwin came out of his break and was standing in the hole waiting for the football. Yeah. CJ Beathard never delivered it. So then then he blamed it on Goodwin not going after to get the football and making a play on it after CJ threw it late. Well, you guys got to remember, these receivers are so used to Garoppolo throwing them off season where he was throwing out of breaks.
And it's on a rope.
Right. And it's on a rope.
Exactly.
So That's a big difference for a receiver to get used to. But I'm not putting that on the receiver. Was the part where Goodwin could have went after the football on him? Yes, probably. But when you're a receiver and you're used to coming out of your break and the football already being on top of you, there's a big difference on waiting for the football compared to not waiting on the football.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why that is. Tony, do you have something you want to say first?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I just didn't want to step over you. The reason why that is, okay, what is the West Coast offense? The West Coast offense, and I ran this as well. And I learned it from Bill Walsh, his system through Mike Holmgren, and which led to Mike Shanahan and then Kyle Shanahan. It's the same offense, a little bit different nomenclature, but basically the offense is what we call a timing-based offense. Okay, it's very important that the routes time up with the quarterback's drop. And Bill Walsh emphasized this. There's even a video series, I think, on YouTube, Bill Walsh quarterbacking, and he goes into it's like 7 parts or 8 parts or something. I had the actual old video of it and everything, where he had the guys that were, after they retired out there on the field, he was going through their different time up on their drops and the routes. And with CJ, what's happening with him is, now I can give you a case with the Green Bay game when he hit through the interception on Goodwin's route. That's the one you're talking about, right?
No, well, not the one that ended the game, like not the one that gave them the ball back when the pressure was coming in his face, but the one where the safety cut in front of Goodwin, because Goodwin was like literally standing like this, waiting for the ball, and CJ didn't deliver it when he should have, and then he basically not even like pump faked it, but then he stepped back one more step and then threw it, and the over the top safety just came in front of him and jumped in and took the ball from him.
So the one I might be thinking of 3rd and 5. Was 3rd and 5.
Yeah, that was the one. 3rd and 5.
Okay. Yeah, that's the one where his actual first read on that was not Goodwin. And Kyle admitted this in the press conference. He kind of hinted to it, and then he kind of went away from it. But I saw that when it happened. Me and my son are watching it. My son's he used to be our water boy when I coached.
Nice.
But he's grown now. But he said that we were talking. Was Goodwin the primary on that? And I go, I don't think so. I go, I think that was the second read, and it came to him late. I said he should have hit Garcon on the out because it was 3rd and 5. There's always a route in there. There's going to be a drag on the backside. There's going to be a front side out, quick out. What they do is they drive upfield. The inside receiver will do a little fake into the corner and then head upfield, and that's what Goodwin did. And Garcon breaks off his route to the outside, and then you got the drag underneath as your backside. So CJ's dropping back. All he has to do is get to a step and then throw that ball out there. And he's got Goodwin on the sideline. Garcon on the sideline. It's going to be a completion. If he puts it there, it's going to be a completion. But he didn't. Instead, he kind of went. He hesitated like he didn't last week in the game so many times. And then he tried to go to Goodwin late. And that was the big mistake because now the ball's going. It's a little farther out there. So now you're trying to. What was that? A 20-yard pass he was making there, an 18-yard pass. Goodwin, by the time he turns around, not even thinking he's primary anyway. Obviously, he's not going to go for the ball as aggressively as he would if he was primary. He lets up a little bit. The guy cuts in front, gets the pick. That's on the quarterback.
Well, the other thing is, and Tony, you can touch on this too, is not only did I see him, throwing late, but even when he had a clean open pocket, he was still overthrowing people. Like he was just like there was a couple times on 3rd down he overthrew Goodwin. Goodwin had to literally jump and try to catch the football. But it's just like I think it's just because he's getting to his reads so late that he just can't get the ball out, and he's being rushed and has this much pass rush in his face because he's not. So I think Kyle should start doing more rollouts with him or or things like that. Because when he does a rollout, he's fine. Once he gets clear of that pocket and doesn't have to worry about all that thinking going and mind juggling stuff go on his head, he's fine. Like, with you see a lot of teams stealing it now where the fullback, it's a rollout with the fullback. And you see a lot of teams doing it now. We always had juice off of it or a tight end will have Kittle on it or whatever. But those type of plays with that rollout, and I just don't understand. Like our play actions should be so much better because our run game is so good.
Yeah.
And and that's not even helping him. Like and that's why I've been saying so long that I really think that Kyle Lynch just has a loyalty to CJ Beathard right now because of the whole Jimmy Garoppolo situation, and not restarting CJ Beathard after his injury, because he could have came back last year and played, but they went with Garoppolo because Garoppolo was winning games. And that's why I think if Nick Mullins can come in here and make this offense move again, because I said it earlier, we went from 25 points a game or 28 points a game down to 12 points a game with CJ Beathard right now. So you're obviously not moving this offense. You're very poor in third down efficiencies. You're very poor in first downs, even first downs, not gaining more than 4 yards on first downs. I think we were like number 1 in the league right now for only gaining like 3.8 or 3.9 yards on first down. I really think that we will see a difference in this offense if we change up the quarterback some way or another. And I'm not saying Nick Mullins is better, don't get me wrong, because I don't know. And I don't think Kyle Shanahan knows either, because he's only getting 2 out of 10 snaps in practice. So he doesn't really get a big look at him. So I think with Mullins practicing today, and if he gets practice tomorrow, I think wheels in Shanahan's head might start spinning and saying, you know what, I really think that I need to do this, whether it's right or wrong. Something needs to light a spark underneath, and that's all I've been saying is something needs to light a spark under CJ Beathard. And I hope it makes him a better quarterback, because he'll be like, okay, damn, doesn't matter if I'm a third-round pick and they moved up to get me. My job's not safe if I don't play well.
Right. Yeah,
Tony,
go ahead, Tony.
Tony, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I just have a question. I want to know what your thinking is, Coach. That I watched the Green Bay game. I'm sure you did too, and I watched every play over and over and over. I just want to know my observation is that when CJ was cleaning that pocket, he can make all his throws. But once this guy gets hit and rattled, I mean, versus Arizona, you saw it. You would see he would take his 5-7 step drops, and then you would just see his helmet just drop, meaning that he's afraid he's going to get killed, hit in the pocket, and he's taking his eyes off of his receivers. And then add that he's holding onto the ball way too long. Now, my thing is, how did he go from having an excellent game versus Green Bay to this? Is it because they hit him and they got him and rattled him? I mean, that's my observation. Because, I mean, listen, I coached not as like what you did, like on a semi-pro level. I'm just high school. But like I always told my quarterbacks, you got to keep your eyes downfield. You got to learn. You have a clock in your head. You know, after a certain amount of time, you either run or you got to make a throw. In the backfield, whatever. Yeah. Like I just wanted to understand. I just want to know your thinking, your thought on that. Why?
Well, a lot of it has to do with his level of confidence. Because when he started games and they lost the Green Bay game, and I mean they've been losing now for 4 weeks in a row, right? Mm-hmm. 4 or 5 weeks in a row now. This was 1-7. We were 1-2 when Jimmy got hurt, right? Because that Kansas City game was our second loss. So the confidence is an important factor for a young quarterback, especially. So what happens is, you lose. He balled out a couple times, and yet they still lost the game.
Yeah.
So he's got to be thinking, okay, and he shouldn't think this way. And I'm sure Shanahan's trying to remind him not to think this way. But everybody's human. We all have human nature, and the human nature of it is he's going to doubt himself.
Mm-hmm.
And when he starts doubting, or he's doubting the time he has, the offensive line, what they're doing, then he starts losing confidence. And when the quarterback loses confidence,
it's done.
Yeah, he's got to get him off. Got to pull it. Like Nick was saying, he'd like to see Mullins come in there just as a switch up, and not necessarily to do anything with him being better or anything, but I think what it'll do is it'll give CJ a chance to kind of recollect himself.
Yeah, reset.
Yeah, just reset himself and say, okay, I need to take a deep breath here. And, my offensive line's doing a good job. I've got to do what Shanahan tells me, and that's trust my eyes. First thing I got to read, or I got a window, pour it in there. Just let it go. Pour it in there. If you throw a pick, you throw a pick. It's a great play by the defensive guy. But you know what? From what I'm seeing on the replays, guys are open.
Yeah.
Like he was saying, Nick was saying. So
they're definitely open.
Yeah, you got to hit them, and you got to hit them in stride. You got to go for that front forearm that you throw.
Yeah.
So that's it. His confidence, man. His confidence is what it is, and I think it's shaking right now.
Yeah.
And Mullins might give the team a spark. I don't think he's going to do that much better just because he doesn't have. I don't think he has a skill set yet mentally.
Of course.
But what you can do with Mullins, if Shanahan's a smart coach, what I would do is I would say, look, I'm going to give you a handful of plays. We're going to run them from various sets, formations, but they're the same plays, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's 10 plays, maybe it's 12. There'll be 3 plays per situation or whatever.
Yeah.
Move them around. Like, Nick was saying, you need to do more rollouts. When CJ was in there, we hardly ever roll the guy out. We don't do sprint outs. We don't do play action. We're doing. The problem with it is when they're running play action, the defense is not honoring it. Defense is saying, okay, we're going to blitz you anyway, whether it's run or pass. That's what they're doing. So they're coming. 8 guys are coming, and we got 5 guys to block them, sometimes 6. So that means 1 or 2 guys are coming free.
Yeah.
Every single play. And CJ knows that too. So what's he doing? He's freaking out about it. He's saying, look, I'm not going to have time to throw this. I've got a play action call here. By the time I turn around, I'm going to have a guy in my face. So that's going to shake his confidence, and then they don't have, he doesn't have the mental quickness.
He doesn't process fast enough.
Yeah, and if you see guys showing blitz and you're in a play, and you're not going to have time to throw it. Let's say it's a 5-step drop.
Mm-hmm.
5-step drop, you got to go to a quick game there when you get a blitz. They call it the quick game, which is 3-step. 1, 2, 3, boom, ball's out. Okay. You see all the other guys do it. Aaron Rodgers does it. Drew Brees does it. They all make that audible, and they get that ball's out. So I know he's not that experienced, but what I'm saying is that factor has to be coached in there as well. And I'm sure it's being taught, but CJ is just not a fast motor guy.
Yeah, he's not there yet.
Yeah. And he is young. It's only his second year. He's only played in 11 games now.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to take him, a good solid 16 to 20 games.
Yeah, but
he masters it. But I'm not making excuses for him. But I'm just saying.
And I was going to say the argument that I would give you with that is CJ Beathard actually has more time in this Kyle Shanahan offense than Jimmy Garoppolo does.
Yeah,
but Jimmy Garoppolo is a better quarterback in the head than
right.
And he could
even physically, I think physically he's a better quarterback as well.
Oh yeah,
arming, his arm talent.
Just his release alone, Nick. It's his processing and his release.
Oh yeah, it's up there with some of the top tier quarterbacks. It's definitely up there with some of the top tier quarterbacks. I definitely agree with that. I think it's just mindset. I'm not saying that CJ is a horrible quarterback. I think there are things that he can be that can be fixed. I definitely agree with you both on confidence level. And that could be because of his turnover ratio. The things that, he could be afraid to the other thing that Kyle doesn't do a lot, and it could be because of CJ's confidence, is test the defense downfield. They don't come out and do it very often.
He did it versus Green Bay, though.
He did. And
but granted, they didn't blitz him the way Arizona did.
Yeah.
Right. So, But you're gonna put more blitz packages in when you see how poorly the quarterback is playing under pressure. And even going into the Rams game, the Niners and Rams were tied, both with 12 sacks going in that game. The Niners actually were ahead of LA with more pressures and quarterback hits than LA was. And we made that I don't want to say we made that defensive line look good because they are good. Don't get me wrong. They have a lot of talent on that team. But the pocket presence of CJ made them look better than the way they played, because there was a lot of times. I really think with Jimmy Garoppolo behind our line this year, we could have beat San Diego, we could have beat Green Bay, we could have probably beat Kansas City in the end.
Arizona too, that first game.
Arizona, both games. So that's 6 games right there. That's 6 games, all because of one factor. And this is what I said, like, me and Mike get into arguments all the time about this. And I argue with Mike when he was talking about, like, 3 or 4 weeks ago, about sitting players on the defensive side of the ball. And I was like, you can't just bench everybody. And then last week I told him, I said there was a difference between the way I thought about benching everybody on the defensive side, because your quarterback touches the ball every play. He's a difference maker on the offense one way or another, the way you look at it. If your quarterback's not getting the ball out, your offense isn't going to move.
Correct.
That's a big difference than benching a corner or benching a safety or benching a linebacker. Like, yes, they make that defense go because you need every player to do their job. All 11 need to do their job. But if your quarterback isn't getting the ball out, the other 10 players can't do their job.
And that's why he's struggling.
Right.
That's why CJ's struggling. The coach said the West Coast is a timing offense.
Yep. So, I mean, and like I said, I'm not going to sit here and gather that Nick Mullins is a better quarterback than CJ. And I'm not saying that Tom Savage should play or anything like that. But I do think that there needs to be a little bit of a mix-up. And people are like, well, you can't sit CJ. Like, we talked in our group room, and people say to me, well, you can't just sit CJ and then Nick Mullins play like shit and then go back to CJ. Well, yes, you can, because Blake Bortles was sat, and they went right back to Blake Bortles the next game. Tyrod Taylor was sat. They went to Baker Mayfield and then went right back to Tyrod Taylor. You can look at it the way they move quarterbacks in Buffalo. It's not always about saying somebody's better than you. It's just about letting every player know on this team that your spot is replaceable. No matter who you are, or what you do for this team. If you're not putting us in best position to win, you have to get under your own ass and get out of your head and say, shit, like, if I don't start playing, I'm going to be in this position. It doesn't matter how well you prepare. You could be the best preparer in the world, and you go out there on Sundays or Thursdays or Monday nights and shit the bed, and it doesn't matter how you prepared. You could have prepared the best that you possibly could have, and it was good preparation. But if you can't put it on the field and you can't play that way, then you're no help to this team. So that's the only reason that I've been arguing this whole Nick Mullins thing, and people take it all the time that I say Nick Mullins is better, but none of us really know what Nick Mullins is. Other than watching college film, which I know college game is way slower than the NFL.
Especially level he played.
Right. Yeah, no, and I'm not saying that I'm not saying he's going to come out here and throw for 465 yards and 5 touchdowns. You know what I mean? I mean, we're playing the Raiders. It could very well be possible if he starts.
You never know.
But yeah, but I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to come out if Mullins wins and he puts up 4 touchdowns. I can guarantee you this fan base will flip. But I'm not even saying that you continually play Nick Mullins, because maybe Nick Mullins just isn't better. It was just the defensive scheme that he was going up against, or the offensive scheme of how we're playing. So, but I think that Nick Mullins deserves a shot right now, because if you really look back at the stats, CJ Beathard is 1-12 now or something, I think, in NFL starts, with like 17 or 18 turnovers. Something's not right there.
Yeah, he's having the same kind of year Kirk Cousins had. He's really
yeah,
look how he turned out.
Yeah, and Kirk Cousins is not a bad quarterback. He's a game manager.
What's crazy is, in my opinion, I think he's doing it behind he's playing behind a better offensive line this year, better running game this year.
Yeah.
Than he
that's the thing.
And that's kind of what's a little scary. I mean, he didn't play with Garcon. I mean, all he had last year was Marquise Goodwin, but I mean, Kittle battled injuries all last year. Kittle's healthy this year, thank God, knock on wood, and he's still struggling, and that's very disturbing. I mean, I honestly think that part of this is Kyle kind of attached his name to CJ by moving up the draft and taking him.
When you go through a game and your receivers only have 4 catches, there's a problem.
Nick, as you know, I went to the Arizona game on the October 7th in Levi's.
Right.
But there were people wide. When I tell you, because I sat in the end zone, like 6 rows off the field, wide open.
Oh, yeah. I see it on the all 22 every week.
It's
I mean,
insane how this guy just
well, he put up what that was at Levi's, right?
Yes, and he put up good numbers.
He put up good numbers. Yeah, he had a good game then.
I mean,
well,
the whole overall offense put
5
up
turnovers, right?
Yeah, but the turnovers killed us. And, you know, and it doesn't matter how good you play. If you give up the ball 5 times, it's hard to come back. I mean, he had 365 yards passing that game, but he had 2 touchdowns and 4. He had 3 interceptions and a fumble.
Yeah.
So, you know, anytime your turnover ratio is higher than your touchdown ratio in the same game, you're probably not going to win that game. But we dominated. Dude, we ran 92 offensive plays that game.
I know.
92.
33 first downs.
Yeah. And
NFL record.
They were 2 for 12 on third down conversions. Arizona was that game. We had the ball for 43 minutes compared
44.
to like 13.
44 and change.
Yeah. So, but when you give up the ball inside your own 40 every time, they're going to score fast. Just think about not having those turnovers. We could have dominated that game 50 minutes to 10 minutes. And we still lost. They scored 8. What was the final, 28-18 or something?
Well, they got 2 defensive touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So they really only scored 14 points outside of that. The one was the big play, and the other was a rushing. When we gave them the ball deep in our end, a rushing touchdown. But going back to what you said about Kyle sticking with CJ, there's a dynamic there, and I'll try to explain it as briefly as I can. When I coached, I had a veteran guy, and he was in our league. He was kind of the Dan Marino of our league. He had a quick release, good arm, great timing. Okay, he went down injured. Next guy up was a rookie, right out of high school. Kid was 19 years old, and he had no timing. He couldn't read defenses, and very little grasp of our scheme, even though he practiced it. And we gave him, when I ran practice, I did it. The starting quarterback would get the first several reps, then he would go back, and the next guy would step in, and he would get the next few reps. So we kind of were a little bit more equal in it. And we focused on timing and execution in our practices instead of game situations. I had the plays that we had called for game situations, but we practiced more getting the timing and the rhythm down with the chemistry between the quarterback and the receivers, and that really paid off for us. But it's a whole different kind of thing, though. Now, as far as the quarterback dynamic, CJ is the number 2 guy, and then you got a number 3 guy sitting back there that had some good plays in the preseason, but he's really an unknown. Now, Shanahan is like, okay, this is what I'm looking at. I got CJ, I can coach him up, and he can respond, or I can bench him and put the 3rd string guy in there and get egg on my face, and CJ maybe go in the tank for the rest of the year. So I think his thinking is more like CJ right now, with Jimmy being down, he's the starter. So what do you do with the starting quarterback? Yeah, when he sucks, sometimes you pull him in a game and put the backup in there and see if you can get a spark. And I know that's what Nick is talking about. You're trying to get a spark there. It's not necessarily you're going to replace him or that the other guy's better, but you see teams do that quite often. And when a starting guy is really sucking the place up bad, and CJ's been doing that, then you gotta get a spark. Put somebody else in there. See if you can get some kind of electrical spark out of that, and guys play better or whatever. The dynamic is there now. Does Mullen have the same kind of confidence coming in there? I don't know. I mean, only Shanahan knows that. So Mullins might be like, gets out there and he's a deer in the headlights. Then we're screwed, right?
Yeah.
What does Shanahan do then? The only time I could see him doing that, he might try to do this. CJ has a bad wrist right now. That's what
I think it happened this week because they're really talking it up.
Okay. Well, he may not start anyway, and it might be a good thing. Just so they try to, Shanahan goes in with the third string guy and says, okay, let's try to get the spark here, get behind this guy and see what we can do. And they're playing the Raiders, like you said, so it's not a high competitive team that he's going up against. He's probably going to get a very similar type of an environment or experience that he had in the preseason. So it actually does make sense for Mullins to start this game. It really does. And I can see that point.
I don't want to cut you off, but I just found this Nick Mullins being asked if he had to start if he's ready, and I found it kind of interesting to what he said. So I'm going to play it real quick. Let me know if you guys can hear this.
Yeah, that's the challenge of being a backup. You don't get a lot of reps, but you have to keep yourself mentally sharp throughout the week. So really just playing the game in my head. That's kind of what I do. I go home, see what plays we have in for the week, and just you got to play the game in your head before it actually plays out. And so that's kind of what I've done each week.
So, and to me, that's mentally preparing. If you're going to sit there and watch the game and you're going to prepare and think about what you would do as you're doing, mental reps are sometimes just as good as physical reps.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that amusing that he said that, because I know that players are always going to say the right things, but that was kind of different in my eyes as to what he said, because it wasn't like he said, I know I don't get the snaps, but this is what I do because I don't get those snaps. So, I don't think CJ would say something like that, because I've heard CJ before saying, I go out there and prepare as the backup, and if I have to step over and take over. But you got to understand, this guy was a third string practice squad guy, until week 3. But that's the other thing, is people are like, oh, well, Nick Mullins hasn't been starting because of the fact that Kyle Shanahan knows he's a practice squad guy. Well, Kyle Shanahan must see something in him, because he's been with the practice squad and kept on this team on the 53, on the team for 2 years. So obviously Kyle Shanahan sees something in him that he likes. So for those of you who are saying that Kyle Shanahan would put him in if he knew more, I think if he didn't have the loyalty that he has to CJ Beathard, that Mullins could have started getting snaps earlier. And I heard somebody say in the room earlier that maybe this is a savior for Kyle Shanahan due to the injury of CJ Beathard, helping him along to make that decision, saying, okay, well, now
the reason.
Right, now the loyalty falls off of me because of his injury. I have to make sure that he's healed up for the rest of the season, so it's better if we just go this route. And then if it goes well, it just looks like Kyle didn't make that decision.
What happened last year, Nick, when they got backed up in that game and Garoppolo came in, and that's how they transitioned Garoppolo in.
Yep. And you know what? And I was saying this earlier, a lot of quarterbacks that are starters now, I mean, you could even go as far as Tom Brady.
Mm.
Tom Brady didn't get his shot until Drew Bledsoe went down.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Nick Mullins is going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, so I don't want anybody getting me wrong there. But there could very well be a case of who's going to be the backup for years to come in San Francisco behind Jimmy Garoppolo.
Correct, but let's go back to the preseason though. Remember when Nick Mullins, the offense would be flat with CJ because Jimmy didn't play. Nick Mullins would come in, lead him back into the game. One game he won for them. And then everybody going into the week 4 of the preseason, they kept saying, well, are we going to make Mullins? Is CJ making the roster? Blah, 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 blah. Now, what happens if this guy comes in, he puts up good stats, and he wins? Do you keep him or do you go back to CJ?
I would personally ride with Nick Mullins for the rest of the year. That's what I would personally do.
I'll know what he'll do. I can tell you what he'll do. Same thing he does with the running backs. He's going to go with the hot hand.
Yeah.
That's Shanahan's MO.
Mm-hmm.
So if he gives Mullins a chance and Mullins does well, he'll stay with the hot hand.
I remember like watching all because I keep all the games that are televised in New Jersey on my DVR, and I remember watching. I mean, granted, it was week 3 to preseason, week 2 to preseason. He would come in this game and he would not look rattled in that pocket. He would look comfortable. Now,
yeah. I mean, you're
that's
going
the problem that CJ's having. He gets rattled. He looks uncomfortable. His eyes drop. He takes his eyes off the downfield.
Well, his timing's not there either. That's the problem because maybe, like I said, I think it's confidence. I think he just doesn't have confidence right now.
Yeah.
All quarterbacks lose confidence. I mean, everybody's gone through that.
Of course.
Aaron Rodgers did. So did other guys. I mean, Brett Favre did. I mean, they all admit to it. There are times when they lost confidence and they stuck it up.
I'm just so tired of people saying that this is all on Kyle Shanahan.
No. It's the coaches. All the coach can do, and this is coming from a coach. All coaches can do is prepare the players to execute the game plan. It's up to the players to do that.
Yep.
The coach can't play the game for them. I don't care how good the coach is.
Yep.
Bill Walsh could not play the game for those guys. He had to let them do it and then make adjustments where he could with the scheme. That's all Shanahan can do. And Shanahan makes fantastic adjustments. I mean, every time he comes back from the second half or, you've seen what they do, or even a series sometimes, the next series, they might go 3 and out, and the next series, they go right down the field, 12 plays, touchdown, right?
Exactly.
That's adjustments because, okay, the defense did this. We didn't expect it. Here's how we adjust.
Yeah.
But that's what they do in the game plan. They expect that. So you got a quarterback stinking the place up. I mean, I will give him credit for this, sticking with the guy as long as he can. He's doing, and you have to show that, keep the quarterback's level of confidence up there. As soon as you lose confidence in the quarterback, who's lost confidence in himself, his playing days are done, at least for the temporary, right? So it is time. I think this, like you said, it does give Shanahan an out here. He can go ahead and let Mullins play. CJ's got a bum wrist. He's not making the reads. He's not doing his job, right? So if he's not doing his job, how long do you let him continue?
Yeah.
You have to follow.
And that's where you can blame it on coaching, is if he doesn't make that.
If he doesn't make that change,
that change.
He can be stubborn about it, and then that would be.
You watch our show all the time. You've probably heard me argue with Mike all the time that you can't blame. You don't know what these coaches are teaching. They could be teaching anything. What's best for the player, putting them in position to win. We've gone about this with Salah all the time and Mike is like, well, how do you know he's putting people in the right position? Well, because there's players there to make the tackle, but they just don't tackle correctly. So
Sherman backed him up on that too.
Yeah, I could tell you physically what to do. It's just like, and that's why I said before, it's like teaching kids. You tell your kid, you're standing right next to your kid and you say, hey, walk over there, pick up that black and white shoe. Well, that kid could walk over there. You'd be like, oh, walk over there with your right hand, pick up the black and white shoe. The kid could walk over and pick it up with his left hand, and you would think that coaching is there, but he did it wrong. Kind of a bad analogy, but coaching you can teach, but it's up to the player to execute no matter what. The player on the field has to execute. And you can see with defensive stuff where Salah's getting mind blown because coverages are being blown or communication isn't right, but that could fall back on lack of leadership, like we talked about earlier, which we know we're hurting from. It could fall on, just like a quarterback can make your offense go, that edge rush will make your defense go. If you don't have that edge rush, it's the same as not having a quarterback. They both work hand in hand. The game's played in the trenches one way or another. So, it's just, I just want to see that the coaching is being done, as in, if it's time to move on from CJ Beathard, whether it's for one game or 2 games or the rest of the season, show the faithful that you're coaching and you're making that coaching decision, saying, you know what?
Trying to make adjustments.
Right. Let's see where this goes. Let's see where this takes us and go on from there. And I'm really hoping that Nick Mullins gets the start and it doesn't be like, oh, well, CJ can practice tomorrow. Now he has 1 day of practice plus travel time, and now he's starting in a game on a short week.
Yeah.
When Nick Mullins took all the snaps today, because now you're telling me that your whole game plan just went.
Okay, so Mullins took all the
Tuesday.
snaps?
Yeah, he made it in practice today.
Okay, so today's Tuesday.
Yeah.
So tomorrow will be a walk. Thursday night they play.
Yeah.
So then it's already set. Mullins is going to start.
Right. But they said in the presser today that Kyle was saying we'll see how CJ is tomorrow and if he's going to start or not. Now
but you know what he's doing there though? That's a little bit of gamesmanship. What he's doing there is he's messing
not
with
letting the
Oakland.
other team know. Because I was going to say, because I would lose a lot of respect for Kyle Shanahan if CJ comes out and starts this game with only a walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
Because that means your whole game plan just didn't even include CJ Beathard, because you had Nick Mullins taking snaps, and then you put CJ in. And then that's where I would be like, he's way too loyal. Like,
has CJ been throwing at all?
No, he can't even hold the ball in his hand.
Okay, he's not going to play. Trust me. You know what it is? He's just messing with Oakland. He's letting Oakland think that CJ might play. So he wants them to prepare for him, and he's going to get Mullins.
Right.
That's all that is. He's done that before with other guys too.
Yeah.
I think that's all that is.
He did it with Jimmy Ward playing safety. He's like, well, I know where Jimmy Ward's going to play, but
I knew he was going to play for safety also, because Colbert went down and he didn't want to put Moore back there, so I knew that.
Yeah. So
Hickson's not a free safety either, so yeah, that's pretty obvious, I think. Also, the Raiders. I mean, if you're going to play the third string guy, this is the perfect time to do it, because the Raiders are just a terrible team right now.
Yeah,
and they're going to turn it around. I mean, eventually, Gruden is a great coach, so I mean, eventually they'll get the people they need, the talent they need, and they'll turn it around. But right now, they're not very talented, and they're not very good.
I think Gruden's fighting against his players right now.
It could be, some old school attitudes and stuff like that.
Before he fixes anything on the field, he has to fix the locker room.
Yeah,
because you can tell there's a lot of turmoil already. I mean, there's a website asking how much more money Gruden's owed. You click on this website and it tells you like the exact amount of money that John Gruden's owed as the seconds click down because of his 10-year contract. So
that's what's huge for us. Our guys are still fighting for Kyle. Our locker room is still intact.
Yeah.
You
don't hear too much about Kyle and any kind of controversy with the players.
There's nothing there. These guys are still fighting for him.
Yeah.
They're backing down. They're not folding it up as much as easily as they could and probably should. Some of the veterans, they're not. And that's why, like I said it before, I'm going to say it again. When Grant Cohn talks that shit, I just want to go nuts on him.
Yeah.
Because if he really knew anything about football, since Kyle's been there, he took a run game that was probably ranked in the bottom third of the league and put it into the top 5. Now, if you know football, Kyle Shanahan's offense is run off of play action. You need a run game to run play action. So year 2, he establishes ground game. Now let's hopefully year 3, Jimmy stays healthy. And, we add certain pieces here, there. I mean, we have a tight end that I think is going to be, a Pro Bowl tight end. Maybe not this year, not next year, but in years to come.
Yeah, there's gonna be a free agent tight end out there we can pick up for the number 2. That's Jesse James from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Very good tight
I'm
end.
done with that Selleck time bullshit.
Yeah, Silicons. Well, he hasn't been catching anything, even when he got his chances. So
Yeah.
right now he's totally missing from the offense. So I would say, yeah, his days are numbered.
I honestly think there's going to be a big flip in his roster this offseason.
There'll be some. I don't think it'll be that big, not like before. But because what we need to do though is we need about 5 more players. To be honest, we need a backup tight end. We need a wide receiver, 2 edge rushers, and a corner. I think.
Yeah, I think
or safety. I would say corner or safety. We could get by with
corners
right now.
Yeah.
Well, they probably have to make a trade because there's no good free agents coming out that I can tell. I looked at the free agent list for next year, and it doesn't look very promising. So unless somebody just gets released or something, which I doubt will happen.
I think the other thing is we might have to bite the bullet and spend some money this year. On those vets, on the vets for edge rushing vet, and still draft one, a veteran receiver, who's still like a veteran receiver that's still not too old, but he's not real young either. Somebody that we can get maybe with a 3-year contract.
Garcon brought in for one reason to help. When we talked about this that off season, that was to help them get on the same page with Kyle's system. That's why he can get out after this year. It's basically a 2-year deal. The back was bloated with mystery money, like phantom money, and they're probably going to just flat out release him, if not this off season, if not soon, and let him get with a contender.
Yeah, he never got traded, right?
No.
So they must have wanted more than teams were willing to offer.
Yeah, so which is fine. You try to, you know what I mean? You sell high.
Yeah, it's got to make sense for you. Yeah.
Especially when you only have 5 draft picks and you have no 5th rounder. So, because we gave up our 5th and our 7th, right, for Lakin Tomlinson and Sean Coleman.
We only have 5 picks this year. That's it.
Yeah, we gave up our 5th and our 7th.
Yeah, I was shocked about.
So,
well, if they sign 2 edge rushers veterans, and it's going to be a couple guys out there, they could take and trade their number 1 pick. They could trade back and get 3 or 4 picks for it.
It's funny. Let me tell you something. As you were talking earlier, you mentioned the Julio trade. I was writing stuff down. I agree. Okay, if we can get Julio without giving up this year's first, maybe next year's first, and a mid-lower round this year.
Well, we could package a couple guys in with them.
Exactly. And then I would bring in the veteran Graham and then try to pluck somebody like a Ray from Denver, who Peters has ties to. But
Ray's a free agent too, right?
Huh? Yeah, he's a free agent.
Isn't Ray going to be free agent?
Yeah. The one name you brought up, and it kind of caught my attention, was Coleman, the running back. Because honestly, I think Coleman, if you gave me a choice between Coleman and McKinnon, I'm taking Coleman hands down because he's been in this system, produced in this system, knows this system. But they can get out of the contract for McKinnon this offseason because they front-loaded, I think they gave him $8 million in year 1 with an option opt-out after year 1.
Well, they got, even still, though, they still have enough cap room to do, like, the most of what I was talking about, the trade with Julio, landing the 2 edge rushers, and Coleman. Coleman's not going to be that expensive, believe it or not. He's not, because he's not a big money guy. But they can afford all that.
I think
I could go do the numbers. But,
I think they can afford Earl Thomas, too.
Yeah. I don't know about Earl Thomas. I don't know if he'll come here, though.
Well,
he really wants to play. He wants to end his career in Dallas,
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Sherman,
I was going to say Richard Sherman might change that.
Yeah.
This is all if he checks out okay coming back from his injury. Because, like, they're focused on running this Seattle defense. If you truly want to run the Seattle defense, you bring the people that fit this defense in. They brought in Sherman. Like me, Nick, and Mike went over this like beating a dead horse when we started this, like that season. So, I mean, everyone, they would look at the draft, he compares to Richard Sherman. Then go out and get Richard Sherman. So now if you bring in like an Earl Thomas, if he gets out, if he's interested in coming to us, with Sherman talking to him. Now you could have Colbert behind him, learning how to play that position the right way.
Yeah.
So that was mine. I'm just scribbling here on this paper. A couple names. I went with Thomas, Brandon Graham from Philly, Sean Ray from Denver, Shane Denver, and Coleman, the running back. As far as like your mid to high tier free agents. Well, I mean,
no, I don't know. I mean, I want to like my focus when I look at that is I'm looking at specific veteran players for their leadership ability.
Correct.
Right? So when I talk about like with Denver, Chris Harris has always been a real consistent, the corner, a real consistent, steady performer, never been a brash kind of give me the attention kind of guy. He just went out and did his job, and then he improves the play of the guys around him, right? Same thing with a guy
need
like
to address that position though. They definitely need to.
Yeah,
because I'm very concerned on how that defense's play dropped, like it declined.
But I think you know what else though is I do believe in the sophomore slump too, and I think Okello will bounce back next year. He's already showing signs of it now. So even if we didn't get a veteran corner, as long as we get the edges taken care of, I think we'll be good. It's just because if we can get heat on the quarterback, out comes the ball early. Guys can make plays. They're going to be in position. And like you said, if we get a free safety or Colbert comes off of his sophomore slump and does well, we'll be all right on defense. Offensively, because I mean, we're like this close to being like a top 5 defense. All we need, we show it at times. It's just that without the pressure, we're not able to maintain that. So we can stop the run probably better than anybody in the league right now.
Yeah.
I mean, our run defense is just off the hook. And we've got some great talent on the inside. Earl Mitchell's been playing better. I don't know where that came from. Maybe he saw some of my, hey, let's get rid of Earl Mitchell comments. Or
I actually had.
I mean, I went on Twitter, John Lynch, and everybody. I was saying stuff to John Lynch, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think a couple of positions, guys are playing better. Get that edge taken. That edge is number one. There's no doubt about that. Get that taken care of, and our corners will play better because they'll have more opportunities then. You'll probably see our turnovers start going up on defense. And
pressure's key. You got to force them to make
throw. Yeah. And we won't have to blitz to do it, which is the key.
Yeah.
Now we can drop 8, or we can drop 7, and let our front 4 come after it. And that's all Seattle did. That's their defense. It was get pressure and play coverage, and play soft coverage or tight man, depending on what you're doing when you change it up. But in that cover 3 scheme, that's how you do it. And one thing I noticed though, Saleh did make adjustments because I was talking on Rombo's channel about it about 4 weeks ago, saying that we should blitz more. Let's do something imaginative, bring the nickel or get some guys involved in the blitz to generate more pressure.
Yeah.
And when he started doing that, we started doing that. But it did take adjustments though, and I'm sure they had probably a timetable for that. That's what they usually do. They'll say, well, by week 5, if things aren't going this way, we've played enough now where we can start doing some other things, within the scheme that people don't really look for. So they'll make those adjustments about the time you want them to anyway. It's not that it's on you for predicting it, but it's like defensive coordinator says, okay, and maybe Shanahan talked to him too, I'm sure.
Well, you could wish Saleh was a little more aggressive that game, this past game. I just wish.
He was, but Tony, he was very aggressive, but he had to change things up because he needed to start covering. He needed to start hiding Powell.
Yeah.
He needed to start hiding things that he knew we were going to get beat on. And the minute they started going after Powell and things like that, he had to pull back on the pressure. He had to, because he was literally trying to hide Powell in different schemes. And you even heard Richard Sherman. He was like, "You got a third string guy out there. They're going to attack him." He's like, Saleh was trying to put him in the best position to win, and that's why we were going man to man, and they were just making better plays. Like
Yeah.
the offenders were making better plays than we were on defense. So I think Salah is there. I think it's just he's lacking talent at that major position that we need.
I totally agree.
Because I mean, even Halfley's like really good. Like I really like Halfley. Like I like the defensive side of coaches. It's just a matter of we haven't really been healthy on defense. You know, Akello's broken down. You know, Colbert's broken down, and when I say broken down, I mean like in their slumps.
Yeah.
So Akello, Colbert. You know, we were playing that game on those last 2 drives with a third string back, like defensive back, well, safety. You know, your defensive scheme is definitely changing, but then you got to look at Reuben Foster's been dinged up. He can barely run. His arm's not even moving. He's tackling guys with one hand. You know, now that's on coaches, but when you don't have another guy to put in there, what else can you do? You know
Coyle's
what I mean?
on IR, right?
What's that?
Brock Coyle, he's on IR.
Yeah, Brock Coyle's on.
I thought Elijah Lee played a good game when he came in.
No, he did. He did. Elijah Lee's not bad.
I like
But it's a drop off though with Foster in him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Huge drop off. I mean, Malcolm Smith's not playing bad at all either. But you know, and then you got to look at Fred Warner's a rookie. He's leading the league in tackles right now, though. I'm pretty sure.
Is he in the lead now?
Yeah, I think
up there. I know.
Yeah, I think he was leading the league with tackles, but I know he's leading the team. I know he's definitely leading the team, but you know, so we have an injured second year linebacker. Then we have a rookie linebacker. Then you have vet in Malcolm Smith. Then you have Akello, which is in his second year. You have Colbert in his second year. You have Buckner in his third. You have Armstead, who's really probably only in his second year of playing time.
Yeah, it's been injured so much, right?
He's been injured so much. Then you have Solomon Thomas, who's really in his second year. Then you have Cassius Marsh, who has been a backup pretty much his entire career.
What, 4 or 5
starting off on the edge. So, I mean, when you look at this defense, we're young, extremely young. And like Coach said earlier, there's really, you know, lack of leadership because Sherman can't really take leadership of the team on the field. He can take it off the field with his DBs and talking to them and telling them how things will go. But during playing time, he has to still do his job. He can't tell other people. You know, Colbert's not that leader yet. And that's why he fell off. You know what I mean? He's really not that leader yet. He even said when we had him on the podcast, like things that he needed to work on better, work on different coverages, work on getting across field and making the right angles. Like he said this on our podcast. Like he's like, look, this is only going to be my second year. These are things I need to work on, you know, and he was blunt with it. So fans have to understand that not only is this team young, but there's lack of vet preference or presence. There's lack of pass rush, which really makes your defense go. And we got to stop pushing the blame to Robert Saleh or, you know, Jeff Halfley or, you know, whoever defensive side you want to put it on. And that's the same thing with the offensive side. And, you know, we're young. I mean, Joe Staley's like the leader on that offense.
Mm-hmm. And he's not vocal. He's not a vocal guy. I mean, he's a funny guy.
He's very funny, vocal. But you can tell there's a difference in that offensive line this year with the players that are on it. And that's because of Weston Richburg.
Yeah, Weston, that guy is vocal. I mean, he'll
he's
bark at people.
You know, he's a center. So, you know, nobody thought Person was going to beat out Garnett.
Garnett's soft.
The thing about
Garnett had a great about him when he was playing.
Yeah, Garnett. I mean, I've been watching film on him. I made a comment earlier on the comments in the text in the chat room, and somebody made a comment that Garnett was a bust, and you know they've said that before about players. And the thing about Garnett is, remember he came in this season. Last year was last year. He was 30 pounds overweight last year. He was a dry blocker then. This year he came in and he learned when he was able to. He learned Kyle's blocking scheme. this off season he applied himself and he did good until his knee started getting bad on him, and he kind of dialed it back. And then Person was by default going to get the job. Person is not a top guard. I mean, he never has been. He's just a lunch pail guy, right? And Garnett gets in there, and the games he played in, man, you watch him block. He is moving defensive linemen out of the play. I mean, completely out of the box.
Mike was saying this year. He was like, "Why are they not running the Garnett side in the preseason?"
Right.
He's like, Garnett's holes are like huge.
Then why he not at it?
Because what happened? Well, he did play. He was winning the job. He was winning the job by his practice habits, and then when he did get his chance, and then he hurt the damn toe, and that set him back because Person came back from his injury, and he didn't, and that was the difference. So Kyle said, "Okay, I'm going to dial Garnett back. We're going to stick with Person."
And then Person got hurt in a game, and Garnett came in and got injured that same game.
Yeah, he was the backup when he hurt his toe.
Right.
But they both hurt their foot. But I was watching. I mean, every time Garnett played, my eyes were locked on him. I wanted to see what he was doing. And I'll tell you what, man, he was just about ready to start playing like a number one pick.
Yep.
So I think next year he's going to win the job. He stays healthy. He's going to win the job.
Yeah,
I don't think they get rid of him.
He was bulldozing holes open. I mean, in the second,
even his pass blocking was better.
In the second.
You watch him pass block too. It was a lot better than it was before.
Yeah, well, he lost a lot of weight. He's a lot swifter on his feet.
Yeah.
And you have to be in this offense because you have to get to that second hole, like second part of the defense. But I mean, I'm not giving up on Garnett yet because
I mean, that's my thought on it too. So I don't want to give up yet.
Yeah, like
I've seen flashes of really greatness there that I think he needs to get a little bit more time.
And Person's playing really well. So
yeah.
Even if Person becomes a backup next year, or even if he goes to as a backup to Garnett, that's good. That's good depth for us.
Yeah,
so,
and he can back up center too.
Yeah, yeah.
And I even think Person when we first drafted him, they had him play right tackle when we first drafted him in the 7th round out of Montana.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess they kicked him in. But I mean, listen, maybe you sign him to a 1 or 2 year extension. You keep him as a swing tackle or a backup interior player, and you just move forward. But I mean, it's so frustrating because you watched him at Stanford. He was an animal, and you've never seen him get hurt. Now he comes to the pros. He can't laugh.
Well, it's a different level. The pros, when you go up to that competition level, in college, it's easier for guys to stand out because they don't have the same competition across the board, right?
Correct, yeah.
When you get to the NFL, these guys are all top guys.
Yeah.
All of them.
You're playing cream of the crop. There's no
Exactly, yeah. So you're gonna come down a little bit in your play, or it's gonna be more balanced, I would say, in the NFL mano a mano. So your technique has got to be better.
Yeah.
And that's where college guys have to adjust because they have to spend more time on the technique.
Yeah.
Making sure that they get, when they get leverage or you listen to some of the coaches when they're instructing these guys and you're like, dang, man, that's some technical stuff he's talking about in there about where to hit his target and all that. And like, I didn't know it got that deep.
Yeah.
But that's how it is at the pro level, man. These guys are pros for a reason.
It would really benefit the NFL, and I've been saying this for years, is to have basically like a minor league football.
We used to have that.
Yeah.
And the Alliance now? The NFL, the Alliance League?
What's that? I couldn't hear you.
Isn't that the Alliance League now?
Yeah, but they don't really play games, do they?
Yeah, it's an 8-team league.
Right. So I'm saying there should be
farm teams, right?
Yeah, like a complete team.
Yeah.
Not just like
it is a complete team.
But I'm saying for all 32 teams.
I got you.
Kind of like the baseball thing, the farm
system. Like a single A, double A, triple A type thing. Because these draft picks would get mended to the NFL a lot faster, which will make the game of the NFL a lot better. Plus, now when these guys come in there, you can teach them the new tackling techniques, the way to tackle quarterbacks, the safety of the game that they're looking for in the NFL. And it will only benefit the NFL as well as player development.
Yeah.
And it would even open up coaching spots because these coaches that go down and coach these minor league teams could basically be interim and for head coaching positions in the NFL, and it builds a resume that they can see. And you can look at all these coaches that are coaching all these other teams. And I'm not sure how big it would be on TV or things like that, but I mean, that flag football league just blew up.
Well, I'm sure it'd be aired like on the NFL Network if they ever come out with something like that.
Like, why couldn't you have something
like a game of the week or something?
Yeah, like why couldn't you have like the San Francisco Gold Miners or, like AAA teams, like to where you're developing players straight out of college, or for players that are undrafted, they learn the game more. It's like a practice squad, but then you still have your practice squad of players, and you can bring them up from the triple A's to your practice squad, or take from other people's team or practice squad.
Yeah.
For your practice squad, and then bring them up to other levels. I mean, I really think that it would change the game of football, as in helping the game of football.
Yeah, it would change
the whole.
I also think, coupled with that, the NFL ought to bring up their rosters too. They should come up to 60 players.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, because of all these injuries, man. It's kind of dictating that. Why the guys are getting hurt so much, I think, is mostly attributed to, or at least partially attributed to, the shortening of the practice time, the hitting time, and the conditioning periods. And when you have that, and then you have a shorter roster, you have less guys available on game day. I think they can only dress
46.
46, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, God, you lose 10 guys in the game, man, you're screwed.
Yep.
Well,
it's happened before.
Didn't it happen one of the games where Selleck was having to play tackle?
Yeah, they had guys fixed around, playing way out of position on a few of them.
So what's his name down? Daly went down. McGlinchey went down. Gilliam went to left tackle.
Yes, Selleck was playing tackle, tackle or guard, We lost Gilliam and the other guy. So we had that.
We lost all three: Gilliam, Staley, and McGlinchey.
Yeah.
And Tomlinson.
And then Tomlinson, he didn't get as badly hurt though, but
right. But
yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
It's crazy. You gotta do bigger rosters. Well, I don't know what the big deal is, but
yeah, I always liked that when the NFL had like 9 offensive linemen, 9 defensive linemen, and then they had 7 defensive linemen and they had 5, 6 linebackers,
Yeah.
Or they've had 5 linebackers and then they have 6 or 8 secondary guys.
Yeah.
So you always had guys, that could step in and play or shift positions and stuff without it going too bad for you. But that was with a 60-man roster.
And there's a way you can get away with doing that is making these expansion teams underneath. Is the way you carry players for bigger rosters.
Like a developmental.
I could understand that you can't carry all these people on the rosters because of like overhead or amount of money, things like that. But if you make these AAA teams or whatever you want to call them, that's a way of putting players on your roster to where they're still learning what you're doing, learning the techniques of the game. They're getting conditioning in. It could be more conditioning. But like you said, I mean, they even do it with youth sports anymore. Well, you have to do, 2 weeks or 3 weeks of conditioning before you can even put a pad on to start hitting. Well, in the NFL, you do 2 days of conditioning, then you can't hit. You're only allowed to actually make physical contact a certain amount of time. So they've definitely lowered all of that, which could definitely be in with core muscle injuries as to why they're getting so many core muscle injuries. Ankles and stuff like that, I'm not going to hold up so much against strength and conditioning. But when you have a lot of non-contact injuries or pulled hamstrings or calf muscles or Achilles, those type of injuries can be prevented. But it also comes down to field conditions as well. Like Arizona's field did not look good this last game. Like people were tweeting out pictures that were there like, oh my God, is this field going to hold up? Like it was just so destroyed. So, you're making all this money
too, right?
Yeah.
That's a big. The NFL, man, their facilities need to be top notch. I mean, they got the money for it. They have to be up there top notch. And maybe they can't build a stadium, but they could put down, with a college surface. And the only problem is the short turnaround. The turnaround from a college to a pro game is only one day, right? Or maybe 2 days on a Monday night game. So I can kind of understand that, I guess. But
you could see how fast they changed the Coliseum when USC played there. You could see the paint job over the USC mark at the 50-yard line and in the end zones. Like that's how fast they turn it over. It's not like they're replacing grass or things like that. So I see where some of these players get complaining about what they're playing on, especially for the amount of money they're worth in their seasons, and especially how much the NFL is making.
Yeah, that's your commodity, right? The players are your commodity. So if you don't take care of them and make sure that they get the ideal equipment and conditions to play, I mean, you're asking for trouble.
Well, they said when Jimmy got hurt in Kansas City that there was a Taylor Swift concert the night before.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So he probably hit a divot or something in the grass, and whoop, there goes the knee.
Yep. So, all right, guys, we're gonna get ready to wrap this up, but I want to ask you one question, and I'll ask you about Thursday night's game and what you think the outcome is going to be. Are we going to win? Or are we going to lose? And if Nick Mullins starts and wins the game, do you continue to go with him through the rest of the season, or would you go back to CJ Beathard? So first off, Coach, let's go with you first. What do you think the outcome of this last Battle of the Bay game is going to be? Do we win the game?
Well,
it's so hard, right?
It is hard, yeah, but I'm going to say we're going to win. And the reason why is, and I know I probably shouldn't say this because we're playing at Levi's Stadium and we just haven't been playing well there lately. And we've got the Raiders coming in with their Rowdy Caucus fans. And I mean, if we make some noise in that stadium, if our fans show up, make some noise, I know our defense is going to play well. But Carr's still playing, right? Not hurt.
Yeah, he's playing.
Yeah, Carr's playing, and man, our secondary. I don't like our secondary against them. But I'm going to say we're going to get to them. We're going to sack them and get pressure on them because I think our D line is better than our O line, and we're going to win the game. I'll go 17-14. Low scoring, but I think that's what it's going to come down to. And I think it might even be a field goal game. And any kind of field goal game, I like Robbie Gould. I like our chances.
Okay.
So
and
that's why
So you have us winning the game. So that's with Nick Mullins starting. Does he continue? Does Kyle Shanahan continue to ride the hot hand with Nick Mullins, or go back to CJ?
If the offensive output is there and consistency, yes. Who do we got after that? We got
the Giants.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, he can start that game for sure. I'd say he goes in at least another game.
Okay, Tony, what's your hopes and aspirations?
Hopes? I don't care win.
Hopes, yeah.
If we lose, I just want to see this team continue to fight and quit. And I think they're gonna. If he steps up and performs, I think he's gonna, like Coach said, you said, they're gonna ride the hot hand into because they're going against the Giants, another 1-6 team. It's like the toilet bowl these next two games. I'm a diehard Niner fan, so I'm going to say hopefully they win. But I mean, as long as they fight, they compete, they don't back down, they don't fold. That's all I'm really looking for at this point of the season, the position that we're in.
But, putting them on paper, though, the 49ers are better than the Raiders on paper.
Yeah.
So,
On paper, yes.
yeah, that's why I picked them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in all aspects they're better than the Raiders, pretty much all the way across the board.
Honestly, before we lost to the Raiders,
The Cardinals.
the week,
Mm-hmm.
I was I put in the room, we're going to go on a 3-game win streak.
Yep.
Because on paper, we're better all three of these teams.
And who would have known our quarterback would lose his confidence?
Yeah, I think if we play like Mike said and we put a full 60-minute game in, these games that we're watching will be a lot different. Whether you want to blame that on coaching, you want to blame it on player execution, you want to blame it on quarterback confidence. If we can get everything kicking, I think even with how young our talent is, I still don't think we're a bad team. It's just a matter of, not getting these turnovers, ones that are hitting us right in the chest. That kills us. Missed tackling hasn't been as bad.
Yeah,
penalties were a little bad last game compared to what they have been. But the quarterback play, it all starts there. And if we can't get the quarterback to start playing well, whether it be Nick Mullins or CJ Beathard, and get this offense moving, and we continually do, where, Kyle Shanahan's not known for, being so bad on third down efficiency. And we have been horrible this year on third downs.
That's on the quarterback, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's totally on the quarterback. So if we can't get that quarterback play to continually move the ball downfield, I don't even care if it – I was so worried in the beginning of the year about our red zone. Shit, I'm happy to take 3 now. Like, I don't even care about getting into the red zone because we got to end each drive with at least 3 points or deep territory. We can't be getting the ball at the 25 and going 3 and out and kicking the ball and giving it to them on their 40, even their 30. So, I mean, I'm really excited to see Mullins and see what we have there, because I'm not counting CJ Beathard as our backup quarterback for years to come. Whether it's Nick Mullins that replaces him, whether it's somebody we draft, I just don't think CJ Beathard will be here as long as most people expect or think. Unless Kyle Shanahan really gets him turned around. But I think sitting him, whether it's due to injury or it's not, if we win this game, which I think we will, I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be – I'm looking 2017, 17-14, Coach. I'm with you on that with a field goal game. But I think Nick Mullins comes out and plays well. I just want the fans to take notice and just look. Go back, watch some tape on CJ Beathard. Watch this game this week with Nick Mullins. Just look at the difference in the way that they approach the game, whether it be pocket presence, release, footwork. Just look at all the aspects that I look at instead of just judging a quarterback because of a quarterback. You'll really see a big difference. If you can get access to all 22, watch it because our receivers are open. And you'll see what I'm seeing and why I'm saying to just start Nick Mullins. So, I think tonight's show was really, really good. Tony, I appreciate you coming on. Coach, we got to get you on again, bud.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely got to get you on again. I really loved talking football with you. You're very knowledgeable. I really appreciate hearing the stories. It was just a pleasure talking with you. Yeah, it was just a pleasure talking with you. Mike said he was sorry he had to get out because his baby was getting cranky and his wife wanted to go to sleep. She doesn't feel well. So he apologized, but he said that, definitely going to get you back on the show. And it was definitely a pleasure. And Tony, yeah, Coach, anytime, man. Anytime I have your email now. So anytime you want to join, just say, hey, send me a link. I'll bring you on. It's not a problem. And then, Tony, do you have anything else you want to say?
I'm good.
Good. Coach, are you on Twitter? Are you on Twitter or anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to let
the email address.
What was it?
The email address you sent the link to, that's what I'm on Twitter.
Oh, what was
Winning
it?
Football? Yeah.
Winning football. So just let everybody know if you want followers on Twitter where they can follow you at.
Okay, yeah, it's winning_football 2005.
All right, so you guys can find Coach on Twitter at winning_football2005. You can find Tony as NJ Niner fan 4999
499.
499. And you can find me on Twitter at 49erfaithful365. You can also make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down there if it's your first time watching us. Check out our website, nothingbutniners.com. You can see all of our social media avenue there. We are on Snapchat and Twitter at nothingbut9ers, on Facebook and Instagram at nothingbutniners, all spelled out. And Facebook, Nothing But Niners Facebook group page, as well as Instagram, Nothing But Niners, all spelled out. So, guys, man, it's been a pleasure. I enjoyed our guests tonight. Guys, man, it's only 2 days away. So, like I said, just watch the key components. And I know we're going through a rough patch here, but we got to stick with it. We got to stick with it behind our coaches, man. Give them that love and support, and it'll all come together, guys. It will all come together. I promise you that. So, but that's it from me tonight. I appreciate every one of you that called in, every one of you that are still in the chat room talking Niners football, because you know we all love doing that. So check us out on our next one. And until then, above all else, stay faithful.
Yeah.
Out of here.